Chapter 1209. As Xiaochen hovered in the air, he did not advance rashly. He only took a glance and saw the distinct circle of people below. The two in the air were very eye-catching among the group of demon mixed blood cultivators. The cultivators who came here all had the aura of the deep abyss demonic race, as well as an indistinct death demonic qi. Only Xiaochen and Ao Jiao did not have any demon race aura on them. It would be difficult for them not to attract attention. Ao Jiao pointed to the stone stele and said, "That is the entrance to the human-demon paradise. Come, let's go down." Xiaochen thought for a while and felt that it was better to get closer. He needed to snatch some things first. If he lost the flower of life because he was slower than others at the entrance, it would not be worth it. He would feel like crying, but no tears would come. Damn! Quick, look! Those two people are really bold. They actually went to the circle of half-step Emperor Wu. When the two landed, the already eye-catching two attracted everyone's attention. The dozens of people in the circle of half-step Emperor Wu also noticed Xiaochen and Ao Jiao flying over. Several of them revealed displeased expressions. Entering a circle was not a simple matter. Who did not want to enter the human-demon paradise at the first opportunity? Who did not know the principle of seizing the initiative? However, not everyone was strong enough to stand in this circle. If one was not strong enough, they would only be humiliated and tossed out. When Xiaochen got closer, he looked around and discovered that there were about 70 or 80 people within 100 meters. Most of them were half-step Emperor Wu. Aside from those who had matters to attend to, all the half-step Emperor Wu of the human demons sea were probably here. Aside from the half-step Emperor Wu, there were the consummation blue-robed emperors who had lived for hundreds of years. Their auras were heavy, and their law energy leaked out. They gave off the feeling of being as heavy as a mountain and as deep as the sea. Their strength was unfathomable. In addition to these, there were 10 other young people standing together, forming a small circle. Among them, Xiaochen noticed Dugu Ao's figure. A purple-haired beauty stood beside Dugu Ao. She had an exotic air and a unique charm. Xiaochen paid attention. This purple-haired woman should have the bloodline of an Eros demon. Otherwise, she would not be so charming. These 10 people should be the famous 10 outstanding talents of the human demon sea. Finding an empty space, Xiaochen and Ao Jiao landed quietly. It was as if he didn't know what kind of circle he had entered. He was calm and composed, without the slightest hint of nervousness. As the two of them landed on the ground, the gazes of the small circle immediately focused on them. However, after a quick glance at Xiaochen, all of their gazes fell onto Ao Jiao. With little Ao Jiao's hot figure and youthful appearance, it was hard not to attract the attention of others. "Do you know those two?" the purple-haired beauty beside Dugu Ao asked when she noticed Dugu Ao's expression. Dugu Ao nodded and replied, "I know the man, but I don't know the woman." The purple-haired beauty smiled and said, "You really do know him. Your friend is like you, extremely courageous. Unfortunately, he is only a great perfection blue-robed emperor, yet he dares to stand here. Furthermore, he is bringing a beauty with him. He is like a lamb entering a wolf's den. He is truly reckless." Dugu Ao's lips twitched. He did not want to explain too much. "Mu Shiyan, if you really think that way, the one at a disadvantage will be you." Mu Shiyan clearly did not believe him. "Is that so? There is already someone who is not convinced. Furthermore, he is an old pervert. I hope that your friend is as you say. Otherwise, he will be in trouble." Dugu Ao looked up and saw a half-step Emperor Wu, who had a bad reputation in the human demon sea, walking over to Xiaochen and Ao Jiao. Although this person looked old, he was spirited. His face was ruddy, and his eyes glowed with a sinister light, making one feel uncomfortable. Ao Jiao frowned slightly, revealing a look of disgust. Xiaochen stepped forward and blocked her. Xiaochen had already expected that there would be unavoidable trouble. He was not surprised. He did not fear a fight. He wanted to show his strength and prove that he was qualified to stand here. Young man, this is not a place where you can stand casually. Leave your female companion behind, and you may leave, the old man said disdainfully as he looked at Xiao Chen. Old man Feng is still so horny. This young man is in trouble. Ha! It is not him who is in trouble. It is his female companion who is in trouble. Old man Feng is not interested in men. I wonder where these two outsiders came from. The fortuitous encounters in the human-demon paradise are useless to cultivators of other races. Why are they here to join in the fun? If they want to join in the fun, then so be it. Why are they standing where they should not be? I wonder where their eyes are. The group of demon mixed blood cultivators did not have a good impression of these outsiders in the first place. Furthermore, these outsiders had barged into their circle for no reason. Even though old man Feng had a bad reputation, he did not say anything to stop them. He only wanted to watch the show. Xiao Chen sized up this old man Feng. He was not very strong, just an ordinary half-step Emperor Wu, about the same as Wang Yang. Compared to Bing Xuejian, whom Xiao Chen met at Blackwater Island, and the Jadeite Mountain Manor's Manor Lord, old man Feng was much weaker. Xiao Chen looked straight at the other party, not showing any intention of retreating. He said indifferently, I will stand here. What do you want? Old man Feng paused for no reason. He had not expected Xiao Chen to have such an attitude. Xiao Chen was very carefree, completely ignoring his words. Since I am standing here, naturally, I have the confidence to do so. I have no grudge with you. I advise you to think this through before you move forward. There are some places that you cannot stand casually, and there are some people that you cannot offend. Old man Feng's gaze was like a sharp treasure saber. As Xiao Chen spoke, he took another step forward. This step was like an unsheathed treasured sword that was suddenly pulled out by an inch. The metallic sound of a saber rang out. White robes fluttered on the yellow sand. In an instant, Xiao Chen's aura changed greatly. It became unbridled and incomparably sharp. A strong wind blew for no reason, carrying sand and dust into the air. Within 100 meters, the people who did not care about Xiao Chen all froze. Clearly, they had not expected this white-clad person to have such a terrifying sharpness. The eyes of the purple-haired beauty lit up. She exclaimed in shock, what a strong sharpness. Could it be just for show? Old man Feng's heart sank. Unexpectedly, he ran into a tough nut to crack. Now that old man Feng thought about it, what the other party said was true. If he did not have any confidence, how could he have the courage to stand here? However, old man Feng no longer had a way out. Everyone in the circle was watching him. If he retreated now, he would lose all his face. A bona fide half-step Emperor Wu retreated before a great perfection blue-robed emperor. What could be more laughable than this? Old man Feng smiled coldly and said, interesting. A great perfection blue-robed emperor actually dares to turn around and threaten me. The world is changing too quickly. Or am I already old? You are indeed old. Without saying a word, Xiao Chen replied coldly. Then, he stepped forward again and threw a palm strike at old man Feng. When Xiao Chen sent out his palm strike, all his vital qi surged. 15 dragon force instantly merged with law energy. Then, he sent out a palm strike without any fancy moves. Qi! The entire place fell silent. The white-clad youth, who was 2 grades weaker than old man Feng, actually chose to make the first move. Old man Feng was clearly surprised. However, he was a veteran of hundreds of battles and was very experienced. After the initial panic, he calmed down. Old man Feng did not believe that a great perfection blue-robed emperor could store up much force when he attacked so quickly. Scram! Old man Feng casually threw a palm strike. When Xiao Chen charged over, he erupted with half his strength and sent out a palm strike without any fancy moves. Bang! When the 2 palms clashed, the expected situation of Xiao Chen being sent flying did not happen. Instead, the two were evenly matched. That was to say, the explosive power of this white-clad youth was no weaker than Old Man Feng's. The more shocking thing was yet to come. The instant the two palms clashed, the white-clad youth's clothes and hair fluttered without any wind. Ding! Ding! Dang! Xiao Chen's clothes and hair fluttered like zither strings. A boundless saber intent spread out wildly from his body along with this wondrous zither music. Flawless saber Dao, body as saber. This palm strike was like the sharpest treasure saber in the world. When it was drawn, it gave off an unparalleled sharpness and an overwhelming sharpness. Old Man Feng had not expected Xiao Chen's simple palm strike to have so many tricks up its sleeve. Old Man Feng immediately suffered, his entire right hand in incredible pain. The force that surged over was like a sharp knife cutting at his flesh, skin, and meridians. Although Old Man Feng's strength was no weaker than Xiao Chen's, the pain deterred him from continuing to clash with Xiao Chen. Shock and rage flashed on Old Man Feng's face as he withdrew his hand and turned around, wanting to retreat. You want to leave? I said before, there are some people that you cannot offend as you please. Old Man Feng's actions were completely within Xiao Chen's expectations. He completely unleashed the Thunder Dragon steps that he had been storing up for a long time. Xiao Chen pushed off the ground and soared into the air. Many purple electric dragons soared out of the ground. This formed a vast scene of dragons soaring, pushing Xiao Chen's speed to the limit. As Xiao Chen soared, he punched Old Man Feng, who was retreating, in the chest. Bang! He knocked Old Man Feng into the sand. Xiao Chen knelt on one knee and pressed his fist against the ground. Old Man Feng's figure could not be seen above the sand at all. The circle within 100 meters fell completely silent. No one had expected that a moment of carelessness would result in Old Man Feng suffering such a huge disadvantage. After knocking Old Man Feng into the sand with one punch, Xiao Chen withdrew his hand and stood upright. The many purple electric dragons materialized by Thunder Dragon steps danced wildly behind him. This gave Xiao Chen a somewhat tyrannical aura. He looked like a dragon among men, a sovereign among dragons. Pooh! Old Man Feng burst out of the sand. Xiao Chen watched coldly, not taking advantage of the moment Old Man Feng jumped out to continue attacking. This was because there was no need. The two of them had already reached a very high level. It would be easy to defeat one of them, but it would be difficult to kill the other. Furthermore, if they fought to the death, even if Xiao Chen won, he would still be the one suffering. Chapter 12:10. Xiao Chen believed that the other party would choose to retreat in the face of difficulties and not seek trouble for no reason. After living for so long, it was impossible for the other party to not understand these principles that he knew. However, if the other party really dared to come again, then Xiao Chen would not be polite with him either. After coming to this oceanic world, Xiao Chen had fought in the various sea regions. Their cultivations were not much different, so he had never feared anyone. Old Man Feng trembled slightly and wiped off the sand on his body. As he looked at Xiao Chen, who had dragons dancing behind him, intense rage burned in his eyes. Old Man Feng's rationality told him that there was no point in continuing to pester Xiao Chen at this moment. However, he simply could not accept being humiliated by a youth in his circle. Brat, you really do not know what's good for you. Today, I will show you the true strength of the half-step Emperor Wu. Old Man Feng roared, and many miniature tornadoes appeared behind him. These tornadoes looked like they were only the size of a finger. However, as the tornadoes tore, fine cracks appeared in space. As the cracks gathered, the space behind him looked like it would shatter. Enough! Old Man Feng, there is no need to cause trouble for no reason. Just at this moment, a cold snort rang out. An old man sat cross-legged at the place closest to the stone steel. He looked ordinary and did not give off any aura. The one who spoke was this white-haired old man. The moment he spoke, he immediately attracted the attention of countless people. Old Man Feng, who was called out, was startled. He had not expected to attract the white-haired old man's attention. He already proved that he has the strength to stand here. If you want to regain your face, either enter the human demon paradise first or scram far away. Don't disturb the others here. The white-haired old man's tone was very tyrannical and impolite. However, these words prevented Old Man Feng from retorting. After glancing at Xiao Chen, Old Man Feng obediently withdrew his aura and stood to the side. Xiao Chen stopped executing the Thunder Dragon steps and looked at the old man behind the stone stele. He was somewhat startled. He had not noticed this old man at all. However, when Old Man Feng spoke, no one dared to make a sound. The enraged Old Man Feng was reprimanded until he was rendered speechless. If he didn't have great strength, the white-haired old man definitely wouldn't have such a deterrent force. The human demon sea was filled with crouching tigers and hidden dragons. Perhaps there were hidden existences like this white-haired old man in this circle. It looked ordinary and unremarkable, but it was actually incredibly powerful. Brother Xiao, this way. A voice rang out by Xiao Chen's ear. It was Dugu Ao sending a voice projection to him. Xiao Chen looked over and nodded in acknowledgement. Then, he walked over with Ao Jiao. In the small circle of the 10 outstanding talents, Dugu Ao stood alone with the purple-haired woman, keeping a certain distance from the others. Seeing Xiao Chen and Ao Jiao walking towards Dugu Ao, the other 8 of the 10 outstanding talents revealed strange expressions. This was because Dugu Ao had a fiery temper and was proud and arrogant. Aside from the purple-haired woman, he had no friends among the people of the same age. Aside from this, there was another special reason. Everyone knew that although Dugu Ao was a mixed blood, he cultivated the veritable essence energy of humans. He did not cultivate the death demonic chi of the deep abyss demon race. It was like he was a germaphobe and had no friends at all. However, such a reclusive person seemed to know this white-robed person. Naturally, this piqued the interest of the others. Interesting. Unexpectedly, aside from Mu Xiyan, there is someone else who is acquainted with Dugu Ao, a handsome red-haired man muttered. This person's name was Pei Yan, the strongest of the 10 outstanding talents of the human demon sea. He had defeated the half-step Emperor Wu many times. This person was Pei Yan, the strongest of the 10 outstanding talents of the human demon sea. He had defeated the half-step Emperor Wu many times. Pei Yan had the bloodline of a human and a fire demon. He had a unique understanding and strong comprehension of the will of fire. When Pei Yan saw Xiao Chen and Ao Jiao walking together with Dugu Ao, he started to think to himself, would the appearance of these two change his plans? What's wrong? It is just 2 more pieces of trash. Do you think that Dugu Ao can compete with us? Someone beside Pei Yan asked. This person had a frosty expression, looking proud and aloof. His arrogant appearance made him look extremely arrogant. Pei Yan smiled and said, in your eyes, those who are inferior to you are trash. However, even a dog would be in big trouble if it got bitten. Your attitude is unacceptable. When the two stood together, they stood out from the crowd. They both exuded a strong aura, showing how extraordinary they were. In reality, this was not wrong. This frosty man was called Han Feng. He ranked second among the 10 outstanding talents and was known as the cold-blooded swordsman. He was cold and emotionless, vicious and merciless. The remaining 6 of the 10 outstanding talents formed another circle under the leadership of the third-ranked Yi Ziheng. With Pei Yan, Dugu Ao, and Yi Ziheng as the leaders, the 10 outstanding talents formed 3 circles. It seemed like they all had a common goal. After Xiao Chen and Ao Jiao entered, they disrupted the balance in this small circle, causing a commotion that was neither too big nor too small. Hee hee. Xiao Chen, right? This is my first time meeting you. I am Mu Xiyan. When the purple-haired girl saw Xiao Chen walk over, she immediately went forward and introduced herself. Her eyes were charming and captivating as she gave Xiao Chen a fierce look. Ao Jiao frowned heavily. Her lips curled up as she snorted with a cold expression. When Mu Xiyan saw this, she smiled faintly. The charm on her face intensified. This girl's charm technique evoked a memory in Xiao Chen, a distant memory of a girl he did not know if he would meet again. After being distracted for a moment, Xiao Chen nodded politely. Then, he walked over to Dugu Ao and pushed the other party to the side. Mu Xian's smile froze. What is this? Does he ignore my charm technique? When Ao Jiao saw this scene, she smiled at Mu Xian in a cocky manner. Little yellow feather on her shoulder spread its wings and patted its paws, showing a cocky expression as well. This human and bird, especially little yellow feather's despicable appearance, angered Mu Xian so much that she felt like vomiting blood. I am very surprised that you, a human cultivator, would be interested in this human demon paradise, Dugu Ao said. Xiao Chen said indifferently, actually, I wanted to say that as well. You also cultivate veritable essence energy. Why are you here? Dugu Ao smiled and said, I suddenly have a feeling that my goal might be the same as yours. Xiao Chen said, in that case, how about we write our goals on our palms at the same time and see if they are the same? All right. The two stretched out their palms and placed them in front of their eyes. Characters appeared on their palms from nowhere. After they finished writing, they clenched their fists and brought them together. The two glanced at each other and opened their palms at the same time. The words, mutated flying dragon snake, flickered on Dugu Ao's palm while the words, flower of life, appeared on Xiao Chen's palm. Indeed, it is the same. The two smiled faintly and casually scattered the characters on their palms. Dugu Ao stood upright with his hands behind his back and said, although our goals are the same, our goals are somewhat different. I owe that woman a favor and need to help her obtain the mutated flying dragon snake's darkness demon core. As for you, you want the flower of life. We can work together. When Dugu Ao spoke of owing Mu Xian a favor, an unnatural expression flashed on his face. This made one curious. How did Dugu Ao end up owing Mu Xian a favor? There had to be a thought-provoking story behind this. Xiao Chen was not a gossipy person, so he did not pursue the matter. He did not even think about Dugu Ao's proposal before directly agreeing. There was no other reason. One more person meant one more force. The benefits of working together outweighed the disadvantages. The flower of life was very important to Xiao Chen. Without the flower of life, he could not advance to martial emperor. As long as there was a chance to increase his chances of obtaining the flower of life, Xiao Chen absolutely would not give up. Dugu Ao smiled faintly, revealing a trace of joy on his face. With Xiao Chen's help, he was more confident of this trip. After negotiating the cooperation, Dugu Ao pointed to Ao Jiao, who was beside Xiao Chen. Who is this? You have not introduced her yet. Is she coming with us? The feeling that Ao Jiao gave Dugu Ao was somewhat unfathomable. It felt like he was looking at flowers through a fog. This made Dugu Ao doubt Ao Jiao's strength, so he needed to get an accurate answer from Xiao Chen. Upon hearing this question, Ao Jiao smiled smugly. Her face was as proud as it could be. She glanced at Xiao Chen and quietly waited for him to speak. When Xiao Chen thought back to the experience of that night, an embarrassed expression flashed in his eyes. After thinking for a while, he gave the answer that had bothered him many times that night. This is my little master, Ao Jiao. There is no need to worry about her strength. A regular half-step emperor will not be able to stop her. Furthermore, she is much more experienced in combat than you or me. Strictly speaking, this was not wrong. Ao Jiao had indeed taught Xiao Chen many things. This was especially so in the Sky Dome realm. When Xiao Chen was still very weak, he had received a lot of guidance from Ao Jiao. However, the mention of Xiao Chen's master and the aura of the two were somewhat strange. Dugu Ao did not overthink this. He believed that given Xiao Chen's character, he would not joke about such a thing. Furthermore, Ao Jiao gave him a feeling that he could not see through her. When Dugu Ao heard this, he felt deep veneration for Ao Jiao. He performed a cup fist salute and said, so, it is a senior Ao. Dugu Ao has been impolite. Ao Jiao smiled like a flower. Hee hee. I don't dare to address you as senior. Just call me elder sister Ao Jiao. Right, I'll listen to senior, elder sister Ao Jiao. When Xiaoqin saw Dugu Ao's serious expression, he felt like laughing. However, he managed to hold it in the end. Are you for real? This girl is a senior. Even if you beat me to death, I will not believe it. Mu Xian's face filled with shock. She was of the same generation as Dugu Ao. Didn't that mean that she was a generation lower than this girl? When Mu Xian thought about how this girl laughed at her with that little bird earlier, she could not help feeling angry. Dugu Ao's expression turned serious as he said, "How can you say that? This is a senior who is here to help you. Quickly apologize and call her elder sister." Mu Xian seemed to fear Dugu Ao somewhat. She looked at him with some grievance. When she saw that he still had a serious expression, she could only walk over to Ao Jiao. After Mu Xian apologized in a soft voice, she called out to elder sister Ao Jiao in dissatisfaction. Chapter 12:11. It's fine. This elder sister has always been magnanimous. I will not bicker with children. Ao Jiao rejoiced in her heart. Who asked you to flirt with me? Now, you still have to obediently call me elder sister. When little yellow feather felt that Ao Jiao was showing off, it also felt very cocky. It circled around Ao Jiao. When Mu Xian saw this, she gritted her teeth. However, she still forced a smile. Xiaoqin sensed that something was wrong with the two. However, he did not overthink it. While there was still some time before the human-demon paradise opened, he asked, "How much do you know about this mutated flying dragon snake? How many people are competing with us this time?" Dugu Ao thought for a while before replying, "Actually, this huge snake is only slightly stronger than a regular half-step Emperor Wu. The main thing is that the death chi on its body is too pure. Its recovery ability is too strong. It is not something that can be killed simply by relying on numbers. As for the competition, based on what I know, the 10 outstanding talents are all targeting this mutated flying dragon snake. As for who else, I am not sure." Xiaoqin frowned slightly. It seemed like the information he received was somewhat different. According to Su Tianyun, the mutated flying dragon snake was already too dangerous, so few people took the risk. After raising his question, Dugu Ao looked at the 10 outstanding talents and said, "The information is somewhat outdated. This mutated flying dragon snake just happened to be over 3,000 years old this year. A 3,000-year-old flying dragon snake's demon core can already evolve into a demonic essence pill. An ordinary demonic essence pill is already very valuable. The mutated flying dragon snake's demonic essence pill will be even more horrifying. It can increase the chances of a demonic mixed blood undergoing the great tribulation of wind and fire by 50%. Xiaoqin understood now. No wonder these 10 outstanding talents were all eyeing the mutated flying dragon snake. The 10 outstanding talents were all consummation blue-robed emperors. They all feared the unknown of the great tribulation of wind and fire. With the mutated demonic essence pill, it was like taking half a reassurance pill in advance. The two of them chatted casually for a while. Then, Xiaoqin inadvertently glanced at the white-haired old man that he feared. He asked, "What is the background of this white-haired old man?" Even old man Feng did not dare to retort when he scolded him. At the mention of this white-haired old man, Dugu Ao's expression turned grave. This is the old black iron monster. He possesses the iron demon bloodline and once killed Emperor Wu. He is one of the strongest half-step Emperor Wu in the human demon sea. Hearing this, Xiaoqin was shocked, feeling extremely shocked. As a half-step Emperor Wu, he killed an Emperor Wu. This was beyond his imagination, and he felt that it was inconceivable. It was no wonder that the moment he spoke, old man Feng was so frightened that he immediately lost all of his arrogance. However, was this true? Dugu Ao nodded and said, "Although he won very miserably, it is indeed true. He killed an Emperor Wu before. Emperor Wu is also divided into different ranks. Some of the newly advanced Emperor Wu's heart of an emperor is not dense enough, and some of the Emperor Wu's golden body is not pure enough. Although he is ridiculously strong to us, he is not an unrivaled existence. Shao Qian nodded to himself. Now that Dugu Ao said that, it made sense. The old black iron monster only killed a newly advanced martial emperor. However, this did not deny the old black iron monster's strength. At the very least, Shao Qian believed that he was not a match for any Emperor Wu, not even the newly Emperor Wu. However, it is fine. He wants to find another way to complete the golden body of Emperor Wu, allowing himself to ascend to the Emperor Dao. His goal is different from ours. Shao Qian heaved a sigh of relief. If such a person became an opponent, just thinking about it was somewhat scary. Since the demonic essence pill was used to help the blue-robed emperor undergo his great tribulation of wind and fire, then his main competitors would be the peak experts of the consummation blue-robed emperor. At most, there would be some half-step Emperor Wu, who was just watching the show. It was still possible to snatch the flower of life. This thought made everyone feel more relaxed. Rumble. 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 Just at this moment, the ground suddenly shook intensely. A savage aura spread out from the ancient stone steel that looked like a sharp sword. Everyone's expressions froze as they looked at the stone steel at the same time. Shao Qian's gaze sank as he muttered, "Is it going to open? The human demon paradise?" The chains on the stone steel fell one by one, giving off heavy clangs. When the chains finished falling, a pitch-black clump of light appeared at the top of the stone steel. After a while, the clump of light turned into an ancient secret door. With a "pa" sound, the door of light suddenly opened as if it was solid, radiating a strange, ink-like light. Whoosh! The old black iron monster, who was the closest, was the first to move. "Come, let's go in," Dugu Ao said quickly. Then, he quickly charged in. Shao Qian, Ao Jiao, and Mu Xian moved at nearly the same time. Although the desert sea was noisy and chaotic, it still maintained the most basic rules. Groups of different strengths, from strong to weak, entered in an orderly fashion. If a cultivator from the lower group tried to enter first, they would suffer the attacks of the entire upper group. They would not dare to move rashly. The ancient black door of light, the many excited cultivators above the desert sea, and the experts flying into the door of light formed a solemn scene. Even though the six paths were no longer around and the cycles of reincarnation were broken, the distant demonic Tao sects of the immortal epoch still remained. This land of experiential training still gave off the glory of that era. When all the cultivators present had entered the human demon paradise, two beams of divine light suddenly descended from the sky above the calm sea of sand. When the lights landed, two handsome deity race experts with white hair and golden eyes glanced at the door of darkness on the stone steel. Then, without saying a word, they instantly entered. Suddenly, the sand on the ground exploded, and two coffins flew out, carrying the two corpse race half-step Emperor Wu into the human demon paradise. White figures flashed. Not long after the coffins flew in, two ghost race half-step Emperor Wu with pale faces entered the human demon paradise. Soon, peak half-step martial emperors of the fiend race and the human race appeared one after another. After all the demon mixed blood cultivators entered, 10-odd experts of the foreign races appeared. Furthermore, all of them were ridiculously strong. No one knew what was going on. Why did the human demon paradise, which only attracted demon mixed blood cultivators, attract so many foreign race experts? TSK. It looks like it is not just one major character who deduced that the crux of this fellow's advancement to martial emperor lies in the flower of life. We are not the only ones who are not willing to see a second Qing emperor. A clump of blood squirmed on the beach and condensed into a handsome, red-clad figure with a strange aura. The demonic qi that this red-clad figure exuded was far denser than that of any demon mixed blood cultivator. It was so pure that it was terrifying. A light flashed, and this mysterious red-clad figure entered the human demon paradise as well. As the sun set in the west, the entrance to the human demon paradise slowly closed. A youth with calm eyes and a sword on his back appeared on the distant desert sea. That was close. I nearly came too late. Tens of thousands of meters away, the young man had a faint smile on his lips as he spoke in a slightly happy manner. Right after he spoke, his body turned into two beams of light, one black and one white, intertwining with each other. At the last moment before the entrance to the human-demon paradise closed, he entered. Xiao Chen, who entered the human-demon paradise, did not know that several peak major characters had already deduced that he would be facing a great calamity when he tried to snatch the flower of life. These major characters had already reached the peak of the Kunlun realm and touched upon some of the extremely profound heavenly Tao. As long as they obtained a person's aura, they could reverse the heavenly Tao and deduce the key points of the calamity of that person. Of course, such a method of deduction reversed the heavenly Tao and paid a huge price. The information obtained was not very comprehensive and could not predict a person's future, only some crucial points. Furthermore, Xiaochen had great luck on him. If one wanted to deduce his tribulation point, they would have to pay an even greater price. Even the primes of the various races would have to pay a huge price just to deduce it. They would need a long time to recover, so they would not dare to make careless deductions. The few primes had been paying attention to Xiao Chen long ago. They saw Xiao Chen's tribulation point in the heavenly Tao at the same time. With the Thunder King protecting him, the primes did not dare to kill Xiao Chen head-on. However, they could still do something to prevent him from obtaining the flower of life. Inside the human-demon paradise, Xiao Chen and Dugu Ao quickly headed for Death Swamp, where the mutated flying dragon snake was. The human-demon paradise was incredibly vast. There were mountains, lakes, rivers, forests, swamps, desolate ice, and all sorts of other terrains. The place was complex and ever-changing, hiding all sorts of dangers. Amidst the danger, there were all sorts of fortuitous encounters. The human-demon paradise had been passed down for millions of years. The general situation inside had long since spread. Cultivators of different cultivations all had a bottom line in their hearts. They knew where they were going to take risks and would not randomly go to places that were much stronger than them. Of course, there would definitely be some skilled and bold people who wanted to seek riches amidst danger, going to even more dangerous places. The thoughts and decisions of these people had nothing to do with Xiao Chen. His and Dugu Ao's goal was very straightforward, to rush to Death Swamp immediately. Then, they would forcefully snatch the flower of life from the various competitors. Then, they would take the most crucial step on their rugged and thorny Emperor's Road. No one has succeeded in killing the mutated flying dragon snake in the past few thousand years. Now that it has condensed a demonic essence core, it will be even harder to deal with. How confident are you? Xiao Chen asked Dugu Ao, who was beside him, as the wind blew past his ears. Dugu Ao glanced at Mu Shiyan, who was lagging behind. A complicated expression flashed in his eyes as he slowly said, 100%. This answer startled Xiao Chen slightly. What trump card did Dugu Ao prepare? To think that Dugu Ao was even more confident than him. Don't look at me. I have not prepared any trump cards, Dugu Ao said with a faint smile. He knew what Xiao Chen was thinking, so he seemed to be telling the truth. Dugu Ao paused for a while. Thinking about how he was working with Xiao Chen now, it was not good to keep him in suspense. He answered honestly, I really do not have any trump cards. My trump card is myself. At that time, I will help you block the other opponents. You will be responsible for killing the mutated flying dragon snake and taking away the demonic essence core and the flower of life. All the opponents? Dugu Ao nodded heavily and said, all of them. Whoosh! Just when the death swamp was in sight, two figures descended and blocked the path of the four people. Chapter 12:12. It was Old Man Feng and Wang Yang, who had a grudge with Xiao Chen. For some reason, these two half-step Emperor Wu were not searching for their own fortuitous encounters. Instead, they were here to block Xiao Chen and Dugu Ao. As for why these two were together, it was not surprising. These two had grudges with Xiao Chen. It was normal for them to be together in this human-demon paradise. Scram, Dugu-ao said with a cold expression, his tone laced with murderous intent. Xiaochen frowned slightly and said calmly, "Don't do anything foolish. With your strength, you cannot kill the four of us." Wang Yang looked at Xiaochen, and heavy hatred flashed in his eyes. "Indeed, we cannot kill you. However, we can still block you for half a day." Old Man Feng smiled coldly and said, "With us around, the two of you can forget about obtaining the demonic essence pill." The hearts of Xiaochen and Dugu-ao sank. They now knew why these two were here. They were here to annoy them. To delay them, not giving them a chance to participate in the fight for the mutated flying dragon snake. Hu Qi. The first and second ranks of the 10 outstanding talents, Pei Yan and Han Feng, flew over at lightning speed. When they saw this scene, they revealed gloating smiles. Soon, another 4 figures flashed by. It was Yi Ziheng leading the 3 outstanding talents, overtaking them as well. "It looks like heaven is helping us." Yi Ziheng turned his head back and smiled. The 3 behind him laughed as well. Dugu-ao's expression turned sullen. He sent a voice projection, "Xiaochen, what should we do? If 2 half-step Emperor Wu are determined to delay you, it will be a headache and troublesome matter." "What should I do? Is the most crucial step of advancing to martial emperor in 5 years going to fall to these 2 clowns? How hateful." Xiaochen suppressed the rage in his heart. As he looked at the 2, he enunciated every word clearly, "I'll say it one last time. Don't test my bottom line. Quickly scram. Otherwise, even if the 2 of you flee to the ends of the world, there will be no place for you to hide. I, Xiaochen, am a man of my word." The domineering aura of the Blue Dragon King burst forth from Xiaochen's body. The Blue Dragon King emblem on his chest flashed. In a flash of light, his white robe turned into a dazzling green. Faintly, a formless blue dragon appeared behind Xiaochen. Its eyes were staring at Wang Yang and Xiaochen emotionlessly. That was the Blue Dragon King's insignia. The dragon might that had accumulated in the Dragon's Gate's holy land for more than 10,000 years burst out in Xiaochen's rage. Old Man Feng and Wang Yang could not understand what was going on. Goosebumps rose all over their bodies as they panicked and wanted to retreat. But thinking that he was a half-step Emperor Wu after all, even if he couldn't beat these 4 people in front of him, he could definitely escape if he wanted to. Instantly, he regained his confidence. Wang Yang cursed, "So what if I touched your bottom line? I don't believe that you can really kill me. You want to take the demon essence pill? Let me tell you, no way. Kill." Without saying anything more, Xiaochen unleashed all his suppressed killing qi and rage. Then, he swung his saber and chopped at Wang Yang. This saber strike in a rage instantly separated Wang Yang and Old Man Feng. "No matter what happens behind me, I have to kill Wang Yang today." Hatred flashed in Ao Jiao's eyes. At the crucial moment, this fellow still came to cause trouble. She could not tolerate this. 2 short sabers appeared in Xiaochen's hands as she charged at Wang Yang with little yellow feather. Mu Xian looked around, and a light flashed in her eyes. Then, she sent a voice projection to Dugu-ao, "Go and help him. Kill that person quickly. Old Man Feng will definitely run away in fear. Can you deal with him alone?" "Don't worry. I can deal with him. I'll be fine," Mu Xian said with a smile when she saw the deeply hidden concern in Dugu-ao's eyes. "Be careful." Dugu-ao had always been decisive. After saying that, he joined the group that surrounded and attacked Wang Yang. Wang Yang, who was already suppressed by Xiaochen, Ao Jiao, and Little Yellow Feather, felt so regretful that his intestines turned green. Why are they all targeting me? According to the original plan, Wang Yang and Old Man Feng would work together to fight the 4. After that, they would work together to break out of the encirclement and leave easily. That way, they would achieve their goal of delaying these 2. However, now that Xiaochen made the first move, separating Wang Yang and Old Man Feng, the situation went beyond Wang Yang's plan. Originally, Wang Yang was already no match for just Xiao Chen. Now, with so many people, it was over. Even if he wanted to run, he could not. Old man Feng, come and save me. Wang Yang only lasted for a moment before wounds covered his body, causing him to vomit blood. However, how could old man Feng come and save Wang Yang? Mu Xian gave off a dreamy, hazy light. She used all sorts of means to hold old man Feng back. Old man Feng was a famous lecher in the first place. When faced with Mu Xian's charm arts, he fell for it repeatedly, unable to shake her off. It had to be said that the half-step Emperor Wu's vast cultivation and strong recovery ability were indeed somewhat horrifying. Even though Wang Yang was being suppressed by the three of them and the Golden Crow from start to finish, he did not die quickly. At this moment, Wang Yang's hair was disheveled, and he appeared incredibly flustered. He tried to break out of the encirclement several times, but they blocked him. Wang Yang no longer had any of his earlier arrogance. The situation instantly flipped. He wanted to cry, but no tears came out. He begged for mercy a few times, but no one bothered with him. If one did not seek trouble, one would not die. Wang Yang did not even take the initiative to look for Xiao Chen, yet he ran over to disgust him. Such an outcome served him right. In its combat state, Little Yellow Feather's body grew several hundred times larger. Its glistening golden feathers gave off a sun-like light. When it opened its mouth, it spat out extremely dense solar true flame. Ao Jiao, who wanted to help Xiao Chen end Wang Yang quickly, entered her peak state. She did not even care about her injuries. There was also Dugu Ao at the side. When he suddenly made a move, he caused Wang Yang to vomit 3 liters of blood. Under such circumstances, even though Wang Yang was a half-step Emperor Wu, from the moment he fell into the encirclement, his fate was sealed. But from the moment he fell into the encirclement, his fate was sealed. There was only one word for him, death. 2 hours later, Xiao Chen executed a sure-kill attack. Blood spurted out, and a saber light flashed as he chopped off Wang Yang's head. This half-step Emperor Wu, who had clamored earlier, did not believe that Xiao Chen could kill him. Now, he died without a complete corpse, unable to come back to life. On the other side, old man Feng had already intended to retreat long ago. When he saw Wang Yang's headless corpse, he was startled. Not daring to linger, he quickly retreated. The group glanced at old man Feng but did not give chase. This was not the time to settle scores with him. After the interlude ended, Dugu Ao searched Wang Yang's corpse. However, he did not find anything useful, so he ignored it. As for Wang Yang's spatial ring, the group did not bother looking at it. After reaching the blue-robed Emperor realm, they had the ability to set restrictions in their spatial rings. Once they died, the restrictions would activate. If someone did not know about it and tried to forcefully take the things in the spatial ring, the restrictions would only injure them. They would only be injured by the explosion of the restriction, and some evil restrictions would even blow them up to death. With this, we completely lost the initiative to kill the mutated flying dragon snake. If the mutated flying dragon snake had already been killed, all our efforts would have been for naught, Dugu Ao said somewhat worriedly. Although the other party died, they had indeed achieved their goal, truly disgusting the two of them. Mu Xian said, "There's no rush. Let's recover first. Actually, let's think about it from another perspective. The mutated flying dragon snake is not easy to deal with. It would be good for these people to help us share the burden." Xiao Chen glanced at this girl. Earlier, this girl dared to get Dugu Ao to help while she held off old man Feng by herself. Not only was she strong, but she was also extraordinarily calm. This made others view her in a different light. She was also not a pretty flower vase that only knew how to use charm techniques. Let's rest first. We already lost the initiative. There is no need to worry about staying here for a while longer. Right now, we are not in a good state. If we rush over, it would be too rash. Xiao Chen agreed with Mu Xian's point of view. Without saying anything more, the group sat down cross-legged and closed their eyes to circulate their energies to recover. Even after Wang Yang's headless corpse died, it still gave off a strong aura that quickly faded away. This made the cultivators passing by feel a deep fear for the group sitting cross-legged, not daring to have any designs on them. A half-step Emperor Wu actually died here. If word got out, no one would believe it. After a while, Xiao Chen was the first to open his eyes. He was the fastest to recover. The others had not opened their eyes yet. Xiao Chen tossed aside the exhausted essence stone in his hand and looked in the direction of Death Swamp. Then, he frowned slightly. For some reason, Xiao Chen felt uneasy at this moment. It was not because of the outstanding talents that had gone to the human demon sea in advance. Instead, it was because of some indescribable emotions. Xiao Chen closed his eyes and scanned his surroundings with his spiritual sense. In the end, everything was normal. They were all mixed blood cultivators undergoing experiential training in the human demon paradise. Actually, he also knew that at this level, as long as he wanted to, he could avoid detection from people of the same level. If a true expert wanted to hide, his divine sense would also be useless. The road to Emperor was to build a bridge, connecting the chasm between heaven and earth, reaching the other shore and successfully pushing open the Emperor's door. Now, his bridge was already half built, and he had reached the most crucial stage. He stood on the other side of the bridge and looked at the Emperor's door on the other side. He could clearly feel how dangerous the abyss below the chasm was. One wrong step, and the bridge would be destroyed. They would fall into the abyss, consigned to eternal damnation. What's wrong? You look troubled. Are you still worried about the flower of life? Actually, that thing doesn't have much value to demonic hybrids. Even if it's taken, they'll find a way to get rid of it. Dugu Ao followed close behind. After recovering, he consoled Xiao Chen. You gained a lot in the 8-star dragon grave. As long as you are willing to pay the price, you will be able to buy it. Unlike me, if someone obtained the demonic garden pill, I would definitely keep it for myself and not auction it off. That was indeed the case. However, if that was the case, then there was no need for Xiao Chen to worry at all. Perhaps he was just being overly suspicious. Xiao Chen smiled and stopped thinking about this. He said, let's not talk about this for now. Let's talk about you. Why must you help this woman? You might even die. Sorrow flashed in Dugu Ao's eyes. He muttered, it's a long story. Actually, I have a perfect demon bloodline. My bloodline is even stronger than the blood sword sovereigns from 50,000 years ago. As long as I'm willing to cultivate demonic chi and activate my innate talent, the so-called 10 outstanding talents are nothing to me. Chapter 12-13. But I don't like that kind of state. I once fell into madness and killed the people closest to me, so I swore that I would never use that bloodline power again. Mu Shiyan is the person who pulled me back from the brink of hell. Xiao Chen nodded to indicate that he understood. It was just like how Ling Yu once used her charm technique to pull him back from a massacre. Mu Shiyan might have used the same method to pull Dugu Ao back, making him resist the temptation of the blood demon's innate talent. However, based on Dugu Ao's expression, there seemed to be more to this than met the eye. Could it be that Dugu Ao managed to resist the temptation of the blood demon's innate talent but failed to resist Mu Shiyan's? Seeing Xiao Chen enter deep thought, Dugu Ao knew that Xiao Chen had already guessed it. He said, it is not that I cannot resist her charm techniques. It is that she cannot pull me back without having a relationship with her. Xiao Chen clicked his tongue slightly. He did not expect there to be such a layer. Now you know why I must return this favor. There is no precedent of a succubus demon surviving the great tribulation of wind and fire. I must help her obtain this mutated demonic essence core. Xiao Chen laughed. This fellow had a face full of arrogance and his eyes were at the top of his head. Who would have thought that he would be so serious about the matters between men and women? But, are you just doing this to repay a debt of gratitude? Xiao Chen asked with interest. Dugu Ao was about to answer when he saw Mu Xian's eyelashes twitch slightly due to nervousness. He knew that she had already recovered, so he shook his head and did not say anything more. Ao Jiao opened her eyes and grumbled, "At the most crucial moment, you suddenly stopped talking. Little sister Xian has been waiting for a long time." Mu Xian knew that she could not continue pretending. She blushed slightly and said, "Nonsense. How could I be eavesdropping? I don't know anything." Dugu Ao did not dwell on this topic. He said, "Let's go. There is not much time left." The death swamp was filled with soaring serpents, but there was only one true variant soaring serpent. After arriving at Death Swamp, there was no need to worry about not being able to find the mutated flying dragon snake. The aftershocks of the battle were the most intense. The mutated flying dragon snake would definitely be there. Boom boom boom. The entire swamp was shaking violently. Not only was the ground shaking, but the entire space was shaking. The moment Xiaoqin stepped into the death swamp, he could feel the might of the aftermath of the huge battle in the distance. Xiaoqin looked at the chaotic scene in the distance, and he was slightly shocked. There were at least 20 to 30 paragon blue-robed emperors fighting the flying dragon serpent. There were even more people who wanted to fish in troubled waters, wanting to take advantage of the situation. So. The four of them flashed and increased their speed to the maximum. A moment later, they arrived at the center of the chaotic battle. A huge black snake was entrenched in the swamp. Its huge body was coiled up like a black mountain. He was engaged in a fierce battle with more than 30 peak great perfection blue-robed emperor. His powerful aura of death caused the sky to be filled with dark clouds that were frighteningly dense. The demon mixed blood teams temporarily formed an alliance. With Pei Yan's and Yi Ziheng's teams as the leaders, they ruthlessly attacked the mutated flying dragon serpent. Since the discovery of the mutated flying dragon serpent, this was probably the first time it faced so many encirclement. The temptation of the past could not attract such strong firepower. Dugu Ao said, "I don't like to be the fisherman at the end. There are too many variables. I like to have everything in my hands, confident of success. Xiaoqin, I'll block the people. I leave the flying dragon serpent to you. How confident are you?" A spark flashed in Xiaoqian's eyes, and the hot-bloodedness in his body surged. If it were any other day, he would definitely be the fisherman at the end. That way, the risk would be the lowest, and he would always be able to remain calm, able to advance or retreat. However, what he needed to obtain now was the flower of life. He could not afford any mishaps. Success or failure depended on this. That side would go crazy once, not giving him any way out. Xiaoqin slowly opened his mouth and gave his answer. "I'm completely confident. However, Xiaoqin, will block these people. You just do your best to kill the flying dragon serpent. Since you already swore not to use that bloodline power, then remember the oath and never use it." A cool breeze blew. Just as Dugu Ao was stunned, that white figure slowly descended and appeared in the middle of the intense battlefield. One person and one saber blocked 30 consummation blue-robed emperors. 10,000 dragons soared behind him. "He's already guessed that I'm going to use that bloodline." Dugu Ao felt strangely touched. Honestly speaking, in this cooperation, Xiaoqin suffered a great loss. Hence, Dugu Ao took the initiative to block the other consummation blue-robed emperors, shouldering the greatest pressure himself. He did not want to take too much advantage of Xiaoqin. Unexpectedly, at the last moment, Xiaoqin beat him to it, stepping forward. The so-called boldness, the so-called heroism, is nothing more than this. However, how am I to repay this favor? Dugu Ao's face sank, and he stopped thinking. Let's go. Let's make our move quickly. Right after Dugu Ao spoke, he led Ao Jiao, Mu Xiyan, and Little Yellow Feather towards the mountain-sized mutated flying dragon serpent. Dugu Ao blocked the mutated flying dragon serpent behind Xiaoqin, preventing him from being attacked from both sides. While all this took a long time to describe, it actually happened in an instant. From the moment Xiao Chen charged in to when Dugu Ao led his people in, it took less than half a breath of time. Amid the intense battlefield, Xiao Chen stood upright while holding his saber. With one saber strike, he blocked the 30-peak consummation blue-robed emperors led by Pei Yan and Yi Ziheng. Such a turn of events stunned everyone. The countless blue-robed emperor-level mixed-blood cultivators, who were preparing to fish in troubled waters, also showed shocked expressions, not understanding what was going on. Damn! Who is this? Is he tired of living? That is that white-clad blades man, the youth who humiliated old Feng outside the stone steel earlier. So, it is him. However, even if old Feng is not a match for him, it is still too much of a stretch for him to block 30-odd peak consummation blue-robed emperors alone. Who knows? However, this might not be a bad thing for us. This will make things more lively. A group of spectating blue-robed emperors hid in the shadows of Death Swamp as they discussed in soft voices. Their eyes filled with excitement. Although they did not think that Xiao Chen could block 30-odd peak consummation blue-robed emperors, they were planning to fish in troubled waters in the first place. The more chaotic it was, the better. The more chaotic it was, the more they liked it. A faint black flame burned on Pei Yan's body as he looked at Xiao Chen, who was soaring with 10,000 dragons behind him. He thought to himself, this fellow came a step too late and lost the initiative. To think that he thought of such a radical method. He really does not care about his life. Rage filled Yi Ziheng's face as he shouted, "Are you seeking death? Quickly move aside. Otherwise, no matter where you come from, you can forget about leaving the human-demon paradise today. Quickly scram." When the 30-odd peak consummation blue-robed emperors saw Dugu Ao's group fighting the injured mutated flying dragon snake behind them, they were so angry that they wanted to kill someone. How could there be such a good thing? Their group had worked so hard to kill the mutated flying dragon snake for a long time, and this fellow wanted to take advantage of them the moment he arrived. The vast auras merged, nearly distorting space as they pressed down on Xiao Chen. The formless auras were like a majestic mountain range pressing down on everyone, making it hard for them to breathe. Xiao Chen held his breath and focused, showing a calm expression. As he looked at the 30-odd peak consummation blue-robed emperors, he became unprecedentedly focused. You want me to scram? Sure. However, you have to ask the saber in my hand first. Xiao Chen pointed his saber forward and unleashed his 60% comprehended lightning saber soul. The tip of the saber contained Xiao Chen's unyielding will. He had to obtain the flower of life at all costs. This was the most crucial step of his emperor's road. He was willing to risk his life for it. Attack together and kill him. Pei Yan frowned slightly. He could feel Xiao Chen's sharpness, which was unparalleled. He did not dare to be careless. The 30-odd consummation blue-robed emperors each executed a killing move and swung at Xiao Chen, who was blocking their way. Xiao Chen swung his saber at Xiao Chen, who was blocking his way. Instantly, multicolored lights filled the air. Saber lights and sword images flashed endlessly. All sorts of mysterious phenomena fused together as attacks filled the sky, causing the space around them to tremble violently. The fluctuations of the power of the world were too chaotic. Continuous explosions rang out in the death swamp, rumbling endlessly. Just these aftershocks blasted several flying dragon snakes out of the swamp and killed them. Blood immediately sprayed into the air. Amidst the chaotic sky, the world lost its color, mixed with dust, and a rain of blood fell. The blue-robed emperors unleashed such concentrated killing moves at the same time. They truly thought highly of Xiao Chen. Two beams of fiery light, one golden and one white, shot out of Xiao Chen's eyes. The origin flames of the lunar true flame and the solar true flame appeared dazzlingly and chased each other in the air. In an instant, they formed a Taiji yin-yang flame diagram. Two extreme flames of completely different attributes merged perfectly with the Taiji yin-yang flame diagram. Yin-yang, the 8 trigrams, the 4 divisions, and the 5 elements. All sorts of mysterious phenomena appeared together with the Taiji yin-yang flame diagram, releasing a large expanse of golden light and sealing off space. The Taiji yin-yang flame diagram was like a wall of the 5 elements, blocking all the incoming killing moves. This time, Xiaochen did not hold back at all, using his origin flame to drive the Taiji yin-yang flame diagram. In the past, Xiaochen had not used his origin flame for the solar true flame and the lunar true flame. However, this magnificent Taiji yin-yang flame diagram was stronger than any of the previous ones. However, it was still somewhat forceful to face 30-odd inferior grade profound martial techniques. If the Taiji yin-yang flame diagram was strong enough, it could instantly reflect all the attacks back. This could throw these 30 consummation blue-robed emperors into chaos and injure them on the spot. Then, Xiaochen would gain the upper hand. Even so, this scene completely surpassed everyone's expectations. Solar True Flame and Lunar True Flame could actually merge and block so many profound martial techniques. This stunned the crowd, who were preparing to kill Xiaochen in one go. Ka-xie! Ka-xie! The Taiji yin-yang flame diagram shattered, and all sorts of attacks rained down on Xiaochen. However, their might had already weakened significantly, and the various mysterious phenomena no longer existed. Xiaochen stood upright while holding his saber. His feet pushed off the ground in the air. With every step he took, saber images filled the air. Thunder roared in the sky, tearing down strands of purple lightning. Thousands of dragon images roared ferociously. 12 saber strikes in one step. With 3 steps, Xiaochen broke all the profound martial techniques. Xiaochen's figure moved among the lightning dragons and saber lights like he was taking a leisurely stroll. Every move he made followed his heart's desire, leaving no traces behind. Such a scene was very shocking. Chapter 12-14. Is that all you are capable of? However, that is not enough to chase me away. I have a saber technique that I would like to share with everyone. Breaking the inferior grade profound martial techniques that filled the sky exceeded everyone's expectations. Unexpectedly, when facing the 30-odd consummation blue-robed emperors, Xiaochen forcefully chose to attack. Xiaochen's heart entered a state of emptiness. To him, the world was pitch black. Aside from him, there was no one else. In Xiaochen's world, space was sealed. Time stopped flowing. The entire world was quiet. It was like the primal chaos had yet to develop. Aside from darkness, there was nothing else. Whoosh! A strand of saber light appeared and tore through this dark world. Color reappeared in Xiaochen's eyes. He saw the mocking smiles on the faces of Pei Yan, Yi Ziheng, and the others. The 30-odd consummation blue-robed emperors all looked at him coldly with mocking smiles. They were laughing at Xiaochen for overestimating himself. After gaining an advantage, he did not obediently defend and did his best to delay. To think that Xiaochen was seeking death by charging at them. This is exactly what I wanted. When you arrive, we will surround you and delay you. Even if you are as strong as the old black iron monster and can kill Emperor Wu, even if you are as strong as the old black iron monster, you will still die. Under the encirclement of 30-odd peak consummation quasi-emperors, Xiaochen would only be ground to death. There would not be a second result. My path, my pride, my glory. There is no need to say more. It all depends on this saber strike. When Xiaochen swung his saber, all sorts of mysterious phenomena flashed. Poems of praise fell from the sky. When Xiaochen swung his saber, all sorts of mysterious phenomena flashed. Poems of praise fell from the sky. The various things that happened in the past turned into mysterious phenomena along with the poems, appearing everywhere. In Mo City, during the promise of 10 years, Xiaochen used the 9th Heaven's Thunder formation to defeat strong enemies, kneeled to his father thrice, and left in a huff. In the Tianwu Emperor's grave, he laughed loudly and issued a challenge to all the great Qin nation's scions, becoming famous for the first time. In the battle at the Heavenly Saber Pavilion, he announced Xiao Chen's name and defeated the great Qin nation's noble clan scions, achieving consecutive victories and starting the legend of the white-robed bladesman. In the ancient desolate land, he was neither humble nor arrogant. He broke the 1,000-year-old record and obtained 100 consecutive victories. In the five-nation youth competition, Xiao Chen remained unknown. However, he defeated the outstanding talents of the various places and stood at the peak of the Sky Dome realm, becoming a king true dragon. In the Kunlun realm, he swept through all the younger generation and was conferred as the Blue Dragon. 10,000 dragons soared in the Cloud Sea domain. He instantly killed 8 quasi-emperors after being destroyed. In the Heavenly Starry Ocean's Four Seas Hero Gathering, Xiao Chen defeated all the outstanding talents in one move in an instant. 13 years of searching for the path, experiencing all kinds of loneliness and pain, casting a heroic name in the world, there is no one like me in the world. Xiao Xiao, he, his. Filled with lofty sentiments, Xiao Chen brought out the instant of glory of this saber strike to its limits. All sorts of poems and mysterious phenomena formed a vast, boundless, glorious, and majestic epic. King, Chen, 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 the Xiao, Chen, that all, King Xiao martial, Chen, he, Xiao, break. Xiao Chen looked coldly at the people in the painting, who still had mocking expressions on their faces. Then, he opened his clenched left hand and gently opened it. Suddenly, the painting shattered, and the sealed space shattered piece by piece. It was like a broken mirror, shattering into countless pieces. The 30-odd people in the painting did their best to protect themselves. However, they were still riddled with wounds. They vomited blood and got knocked back by the power of space. Their hair was disheveled, and they were covered in wounds. The people watching in the dark were all dumbfounded. Unexpectedly, Xiao Chen alone forced back 30-odd peak blue-robed emperors. With this move, half of the 30-odd consummation blue-robed emperors could no longer stand up. Some of the weaker ones even had their bodies split open. The wounds looked very horrifying. If not for the demon mixed bloods possessing strong physical attributes and the fact that they were all consummation blue-robed emperors, all of them would have died. Aside from peak characters like the 10 outstanding talents, most of the remaining 15 or 16 demon mixed bloods had lost most of their combat prowess. The might of one saber strike was so strong. Right now, Xiao Chen was incredibly tired. Sweat covered his forehead. This move exhausted not only his law energy but also his mental energy. Xiao Chen felt completely drained. However, there were only two feelings in his heart: carefree. That's right, carefree. After comprehending the instant of glory once more, he had finally reached the lesser mastery realm from its original level of mastery to the next level. Even if most of the blue-robed emperors were lucky enough to obtain a medial-grade profound martial technique, they would find it difficult to execute it even once. However, Xiao Chen was able to go from being able to withdraw and release it as he pleased to small perfection. Describing such people as rare as phoenix feathers and qilin horns was insufficient to match Xiao Chen's comprehension ability. What small perfection meant was that one could bring out 30% of a medial-grade profound martial technique's might. Several of these people could bring out only 50 to 60% of an inferior-grade profound martial technique's might, not to mention a medial-grade profound martial technique. Being suppressed like this was not an injustice at all. The blue-robed emperors watching from afar were all startled into stupefaction. The deterrence of this move was simply too great. Xiao Chen looked coldly at the 10-odd people standing in front. The mockery on these people's faces had long since vanished, replaced by deep fear. Damn it! He actually cultivated a medial-grade profound martial technique to small perfection. As the 10-odd people watched Xiao Chen's clothes flutter, they gritted their teeth in hatred. How could they have imagined that a peak great perfection blue-robed emperor could force them, a group of consummation blue-robed emperors, into such a sorry state? As Xiao Chen stood in the air, the formless tyranny of a ruler spread out from his body, stirring up changes in the sky and stirring up clouds and winds. Xiao Chen's gaze was incredibly sharp, revealing a strong state of mind. No one dared to look directly at him. These people simply did not know what kind of obsession Shao Chen had with this flower of life. Without the demonic essence core, it would only be slightly more difficult for these outstanding talents to clear their great tribulation of wind and fire. However, without the flower of life, Shao Chen could not advance to martial emperor. Everything would be for naught. Shao Chen's dreams and hopes would all be for naught. Shao Chen's words of risking his life was not a joke at all. Before such a strong aura, the remaining 10-odd people did not dare to act rashly. For a moment, a stalemate appeared. It was hard to imagine that Shao Chen, whom no one thought highly of, could block 30-odd consummation blue-robed emperors with just this saber in his hand. Drip. 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 The blood rain in the sky mixed with dust, still falling endlessly. In fact, it even intensified. The shock waves of this instant of glory were more than 1 or 2 levels stronger than the shock waves of the killing moves that those people combined to execute earlier. Who knew how many ordinary flying dragon snakes had died in the swamp after suffering an unexpected calamity? This made the blood rain even sharper. When it landed on the people, it quickly drenched their clothes and dyed their white robes red. Amid the blood rain, Shao Chen's eyes remained cold. He allowed the rain to land on his body, not showing any intention of retreating. Time slowly passed. It looked like Dugu Ao and the others were about to kill the already severely injured mutated flying dragon snake. The hearts of Pei Yan and the others grew even more restless amid this blood rain. They wanted to charge over several times. However, as long as they met Shao Chen's gaze, looked at the people lying on the ground, moaning in pain, and saw that boundlessly glorious mysterious phenomenon from earlier, they would feel weak in their hearts for some reason. For some reason, they all felt weak in their hearts and did not dare to act rashly. Even the strongest Pei Yan was no exception. After being struck head-on by that instant of glory, Pei Yan only had 70% of his combat prowess. Based on Pei Yan's guess, if he had to bear the full might of this instant of glory alone, even if he did not die, he would be severely injured. Only the heavens knew if this fellow would risk his life to launch another attack. He definitely will. As Pei Yan looked at Shao Chen's eyes, he felt a chill in his heart. This fellow definitely will. As long as someone dared to take a step forward, even if Pei Yan had to pay with his life, he would drag that person to hell. Speaking of which, it was laughable. No matter what, Pei Yan was the strongest of the 10 outstanding talents of the human demon territory. However, before this outsider, before this youth who was more than 10 years younger than him, Pei Yan actually showed cowardice. The companions beside him could not give him any sense of security at all. This was a kind of grievance. Pei Yan clenched his right hand so tightly that his fingers nearly dug into his flesh. Pei Yan held back his anger, his entire body trembling. However, he still did not dare to step forward. If even Pei Yan was like that, then there was no need to mention the others standing beside him. However, they were not willing to leave just like that. Hence, the situation remained in a stalemate. Unable to advance or retreat, this was the current situation of this group of outstanding talents of the human demon sea. Pooh! Just at this moment, a mournful wail came from the death swamp, where the blood rain poured down. After paying a heavy price, Dugu Ao's group finally chopped off the huge mutated flying dragon snake's head. In that instant, blood gushed into the sky like a fountain, causing the blood rain, which had weakened slightly, to fall ferociously once more. The 3,000-year-old mutated flying dragon snake died just like that. Berserk energy spread out. This energy formed strong gales that blew wantonly in the swamp, sounding like the wails of ghosts and the howls of wolves. Everyone was well aware of what the blood-curdling screams meant. In an instant, the stalemate broke. The temptation of the demonic essence pill finally defeated the fear in the hearts of everyone present. The 10-odd consummation blue-robed emperors in front and an even larger number of blue-robed emperors in the distance were like a pack of wolves that had been waiting for a long time on a grassy plain. At this moment, their eyes lit up, and they all moved. However, just as they stood up, Shao Chen, who was drenched and covered in blood, swung his saber and shouted in rage. Whoosh! 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 Who dares to move? Along with this roar of rage were 10,000 bolts of lightning. Xiaochen infused his peak will of thunder into these 3 words. The instant Xiaochen spoke, the resplendent and dazzling lightning talisman in his sea of consciousness vanished completely. It turned into a bolt of lightning containing the peak will of thunder and tore through the sky at the same time. What kind of scene would that be? At this moment, it was like the end of the world. The indescribable electric light made this colorful world lose all color. Only black and white remained. Chapter 12:15. Under the reflection of this electric light, Xiaochen's actions of brandishing his saber and roaring appeared desolate and tyrannical. If those who stood up and moved were a pack of wolves, then Xiaochen was the king of beasts, an overlord that inspired fear in others. When an overlord raged, who dared to move? The many blue-robed emperors, whose rationality was clouded by desire, were all forced back by this thunderous roar. Even the demon elites, who were as strong as the 10 outstanding talents, were startled by this roar. They did not dare to move rashly, becoming distracted. Some of the more timid and weak-willed people fell into the air. Their legs went numb, and they fell to the ground, frightened into trembling and retreating continuously. Who dared to move? No one dared to move. With one roar, Xiaochen scared off hundreds of blue-robed emperors. Such an effect naturally had something to do with the fact that Xiaochen had infused his peak will of thunder into his voice. The peak will of thunder was already on the verge of materializing illusory. When combined with his roar, it could place immense mental pressure on others. This was especially so for lightning. This attribute was berserk in the first place and symbolized the heavenly Tao's punishment. When the lightning vanished, Xiaochen looked coldly at the surrounding group of people. Then, he pushed off the air and flew towards the snake head in the air. A pure white flower bloomed on the snake's head, looking somewhat alluring in this gloomy world filled with death qi. This flower, which exuded life force, was very eye-catching. This was the flower of life that Xiaochen dreamed of. On the other side, Dugu Ao and the others took advantage of the time when Xiaochen held back the many blue-robed emperors to successfully obtain the mutated demonic essence pill. Once Xiaochen obtained the flower of life, the goal of this trip to the human demon paradise would be accomplished. Wounds riddled Ao Jiao's body, all from the mutated flying dragon snake. But at this moment, she didn't feel any pain. Seeing Xiaochen getting closer and closer to the tongue, Ao Jiao felt nothing but joy in her heart. Advancing to martial emperor in 5 years had always been a huge mountain pressing down on Xiaochen's heart. Today, he finally saw a trace of hope. The goal she had been looking forward to for a long time had finally been fulfilled. How could she not be happy? Watching Xiaochen fly towards the head of the soaring serpent, the blue-robed emperor that had been scared away by Xiaochen did not dare to act rashly. Their imposing manner had long since been completely destroyed by Xiaochen's explosive shout in the depths of their hearts. Amidst the blood rain, tens of thousands of lightning bolts illuminated the world, leaving only black and white. That scene would be unforgettable for them for the rest of their lives. It would become an indelible shadow in their hearts. Just when everyone thought that no one could stop Xiaochen from snatching the flower of life, a voice suddenly rang out. Suddenly, 2 ghostly figures appeared in the air. These 2 ghostly figures were hidden in the death qi in space, looking like they had appeared out of nowhere. One of them sent a palm strike at Xiaochen. When the 2 palm strikes flew out, they seemed to drive all the death qi in the entire death swamp, shaking the world and making it tremble endlessly. The 2 huge black palms were like demonic claws as they attacked Xiaochen. As long as Xiaochen continued to snatch the flower of life, he would be struck by these 2 palms. He would not have any chance to dodge. Clearly, the 2 ghost race half-step Emperor Wu were trying to force back Xiaochen, preventing him from obtaining the flower of life. If Xiaochen dared to take it, he would have to endure the damage from these 2 palms. Furthermore, the demonic claws were so dense that they seemed to have materialized. Wherever they passed, cracks would appear in the space around them. From this, one could imagine just how powerful they were. The ghost race's half-step Emperor Wu. The blue-robed emperor and the 10 outstanding talents were all stunned at the same time. They could not understand why the ghost race experts of the Kunlun continent, who were tens of millions of kilometers away, would come to the human-demon paradise. In the history of the human-demon sea, such a situation had never happened before. Furthermore, there were 2 of them at the same time. However, that was not all. 2 ancient coffins flew out of the death swamp at the same time. The coffins landed with a pa sound, and the 2 corpse race half-step Emperor Wu with cold expressions opened their eyes. Without saying a word, they walked out of the coffins and started attacking the surrounding demon blue-robed emperors. This was the absolute difference in strength. In an instant, several human demon quasi-emperors died on the spot before they could figure out the situation. Boom! A sagely song rang out, and 2 golden pillars of light descended from the sky. The holy light illuminated the dark death swamp. 2 deity race half-step Emperor Wu experts with white hair and black eyes descended from the sky. They formed hand seals and sent down waves of holy light. Strong mental energy martial techniques gave off resplendent lights as they landed on the ground. Miserable shrieks rang out everywhere. This caused the blue-robed Emperor mixed blood below to flee, not daring to remain for long. 6 human half-step Emperor Wu figures appeared at the edge of the death swamp in the distance. These 6 wore masks, preventing others from seeing their faces clearly. However, the strong auras of their bodies were all terrifyingly strong. With one look, it was clear that they were not ordinary half-step Emperor Wu. With just 2 steps, they arrived at the scene. Similarly, without saying a word, he attacked the surrounding demonic human quasi-emperors without hesitation. The expressions of Pei Yan and the others changed dramatically. No matter how this group of outstanding talents thought about it, they would never have expected so many half-step Emperor Wu to appear in the human demon paradise. Furthermore, they were not ordinary half-step Emperor Wu. Even among half-step Emperor Wu, they were top-notch existences. The status of the demons was special. They were mixed bloods of the deep abyss demonic race and the human race. Furthermore, the demons had always been the enemy of all the races of the Kunlun continent. If not for the Blood Sword Sovereign, a demon-human expert, appearing out of nowhere 50,000 years ago and being ridiculously strong, resulting in an agreement with the 5 major races of the Kunlun continent, the demons would have been wiped out long ago. The demonic humans had long been wiped out, they would never exist again. Even so, the current Kunlun realm was still ruled by the 5 major races. The peak experts of the 5 major races would not feel any guilt coming over to kill demon mixed blood cultivators. They would not fear the demon mixed blood cultivators seeking trouble. If they dared to seek trouble, having the demon bloodline was a sin in the first place. In terms of peak strength, any prime of the continent's races could easily slaughter all the demon mixed blood cultivators. Let's go. These people are trying to clear the area. They do not want others to see what they are doing. When Pei Yan saw that the half-step Emperor Wu did not care about the demon mixed blood cultivators fleeing, he immediately guessed the result. Pei Yan glanced at Xiao Chen, who was being held back by the 2 ghost race half-step Emperor Wu. As Pei Yan retreated, he somewhat understood what was going on. These people's target was the white-robed bladesman in the air. With this thought, Pei Yan could not help being horrified. What kind of existence was this fellow? Unexpectedly, he offended so many half-step Emperor Wu experts. As Pei Yan thought about this, he did not stop moving, retreating with all his might. Although Pei Yan could defeat some half-step Emperor Wu, they were ordinary half-step Emperor Wu like Old Man Feng and Wang Yang. If he ran into a true half-step Emperor Wu expert, he would die. If Pei Yan did not leave now, he would not be able to even if he wanted to. Such a strange turn of events happened in an instant. No matter who it was, no one would have expected such a scene. When Xiao Chen, who was in the air, saw the 2 ghost race half-step Emperor Wu appear, his expression changed. Before coming, Xiao Chen had been feeling uneasy. He knew that the flower of life would not be so easy to obtain. However, when he saw such a large formation, he could not help feeling surprised. How could Shao Chen be capable of provoking so many major characters to make a move at the same time, sending 10-odd half-step Emperor Wu to deal with him? There was no other purpose than to prevent Shao Chen from advancing to martial emperor, to prevent him from obtaining the Flower of Life. If Shao Chen gave up now and dodged these two horrifying demonic claws, letting the other party obtain the Flower of Life, nothing would happen to him. After the other party destroyed the Flower of Life, they would leave calmly. In their opinion, a descendant of the Qin Emperor who could not advance to martial emperor would not be worth paying attention to. It was just a meteor. What was there to fear? However, if Shao Chen did not give up and still wanted to obtain the Flower of Life, then enduring the damage from these two demonic claws would be a painful start. The 10-odd half-step Emperor Wu would not give Shao Chen a chance to speak. They would beat him half to death and use the most brutal method to snatch away the Flower of Life. It looked like the result would be the same regardless of whether Shao Chen chose the former or the latter. He would not be able to obtain the Flower of Life in the end. However, even if the result was the same, Shao Chen would choose the latter without hesitation. The reason was none other than his attitude, a flame that never extinguished in his heart. It was a dream, a hope, and an unyielding faith. Blue Dragon Battle Armor, materialize. A resolute light flashed on Shao Chen's delicate face. He materialized the Blue Dragon Battle Armor and flew towards the Flower of Life without hesitation. The path to martial emperor involved risking one's life. Even if one was consigned to eternal damnation, one would never give up. After materializing the Blue Dragon Battle Armor, Shao Chen leaped into the air and plucked the Flower of Life from the mutated flying dragon snake's head. Then, he placed it in his universe ring. However, after Shao Chen completed this series of actions, the demonic palms that the two ghost race half-step Emperor Wu sent out also attacked from the front and back. It looked like two palms were pressing together as they struck Shao Chen. Buzz! Space trembled, swaying left and right like a clock. Formless spatial winds surged out in all directions. The shockwaves spread throughout the entire death swamp. The ground cracked, and all the flying dragon snakes in the swamp shattered. After this battle, the flying dragon snakes in the human-demon paradise would probably all die. Dugu Ao took the initiative to block Ao Jiao and Mu Xian, helping them block the shock waves from the spatial tremors. Before the shock waves scattered, a figure wearing azure-patterned battle armor descended from the air like a sharp arrow, arriving where Dugu Ao and the other two were. Pu Ci. After Shao Chen landed, he vomited a mouthful of blood. He clenched his teeth with a pale complexion as he endured the intense pain from his injuries. Cracks appeared on Shao Chen's battle armor. However, as he circulated the Blue Dragon vital qi in his body, the cracks on the battle armor healed at a visible rate. After the Blue Dragon body nourishing art reached the third layer, the Blue Dragon battle armor that he materialized already allowed Shao Chen's defense to rival that of Emperor Wu's golden body. Although Shao Chen was severely injured, he could still stand and fight against the peak strikes of these two half-step Emperor Wu, who used the death energy of this place to execute them. Chapter 12-16. Shao Chen. Ao Jiao stepped forward and asked anxiously, her eyes filled with worry. Shao Chen turned around and smiled faintly, indicating that he was fine. Then, while Ao Jiao was not paying attention, he waved his right hand and quickly pulled Ao Jiao into the immortal spirit ring. Shao Chen sealed the exit of the ring and vomited another mouthful of blood. Mu Xian stepped forward and placed her hand on Shao Chen's shoulder. A clump of pink light appeared in her palm and quickly entered Shao Chen's body. Shao Chen immediately felt all the pain disappear. However, his injuries still had not healed. This should be the innate skill of the Eros demons, which temporarily numbed the pain. Now, not a single demon mixed blood remained in the previously bustling death swamp. The various half-step Emperor Wus pressed forward, step by step. They formed an encirclement, sealing off all paths of retreat for Shao Chen's group. There were a total of 12 half-step Emperor Wus. Their strong auras pressed down, making breathing difficult. Normally, even if Shao Chen and Dugu Ao ran into one of these half-step Emperor Wus, they would not dare to say that they could easily defeat them. Now that there were 12, there was no hope at all. Xiaochen looked at them one by one. The 2 deity race half-step Emperor Wus should have been sent by Emperor Forsaken. Needless to say, the 2 ghost race half-step Emperor Wus were definitely sent by the Dongyue Ghost Emperor. Naturally, the 2 corpse race half-step Emperor Wus were sent by the Xingtian Emperor. As for the 6 masked human experts, the corners of Xiaochen's mouth curled up slightly, revealing a mocking expression. Since they already sent people out, what was the point of wearing masks? Masks could cover their faces, but could they hide the aura of their holy beast martial spirits? As soon as the 6 half-step Emperor Wu of the human race appeared, Xiaochen knew that they were the 3 Holy Lord of the 3 Holy Masters' land. It was just that the other party didn't want to shed their last layer of cordiality, so they put on a mask for their own people. Thinking about it, it was really laughable. At the same time, in a boundlessly distant place, where the Thunder King was in closed-door cultivation, Bushan Palace in the Kunlun Continent's central province, the Thunder King was sitting cross-legged and talking to the 2 shadows in front of him. One of the masters of the image was the Haotian Martial Emperor, the new prime of the Kunlun Continent's human race. The other was the Fox King, the strongest martial emperor of the Fiend race, also a prime. Thunder King, are we really not going to help this time? The projection of the Haotian Emperor asked worriedly. Naturally, the matter he was referring to was the matter of the prime sending people to stop Xiaochen from obtaining the Flower of Life. The deity race's Emperor Forsaken and the ghost race's Dongyue Ghost Emperor and Xingtian could reverse the heavenly Tao and calculate Xiaochen's tribulation point. Naturally, they could do so as well. The Thunder King's aged face remained calm. He said indifferently, there is no need to make a move. Just let nature take its course. A tribulation point is a tribulation point. If we purposely do it, it will only make the tribulation point more difficult. There is no point in doing so. After a pause, the Thunder King continued, furthermore, even I cannot figure out the tribulation point this time. There are too many variables, truly puzzling. The Haotian Emperor and the Fox King looked at each other in surprise. The Fox King asked tentatively, what variables? The Thunder Sovereign shook his head and said, I can only make out one person. There is another one. No matter how I look at it, I cannot make out anything. That person clearly does not have a dense luck like Xiaochen does. However, he is unfathomable, unfathomable. The Haotian Emperor was still a little worried. There is really no need to make a move. This time, even the 3 Holy Masters can't help but make a move. The Thunder King nodded firmly. There is no need to make a move. They also know where the bottom line is. They will not act recklessly. After the conversation ended, the Haotian Emperor and the Fox King's projections flickered a few times before they disappeared from the secret chamber, leaving the Thunder King alone. After the 2 left, the Thunder King's appearance aged even more. He muttered, what exactly is the second variable? Why can't I figure it out at all? After saying that, the Thunder King started calculating again, feeling dissatisfied. The life force in his body drained quickly. Strands of dense life force almost materialized and came out of the top of his head. After a while, the Thunder King opened his eyes. He saw a youth flickering with black and white lights with a sword on his back. However, that youth's face was blurry, he could not see it clearly no matter what. The Thunder King was dissatisfied. He formed hand seals and drained even more life force. Suddenly, the Thunder King vomited a mouthful of blood. He finally saw that youth's face clearly, saw the pure golden flames burning in the youth's eyes. The Thunder King immediately revealed an expression of understanding. He muttered, so, that is the case. You also left a backup plan. In Death Swamp, Xiaochen looked at the 12 half-step Emperor Wu in the air. Then, he said slowly, Dugu Ao, take Miss Mu and leave. They are here for me. They will not stop you. When Dugu Ao heard this, he smiled. Then, he looked at the 12 half-step Emperor Wu in the air as well. He asked, Brother Xiao, have you decided to give up? Have I given up? Naturally, he did not. However, When facing these 12 half-step martial emperors, every one of them was no weaker than him. Even with that plume feather, it was impossible for me to break out of this encirclement. It was not that Xiao Chen was undervaluing himself. Rather, the situation before him was truly unresolvable. All Xiao Chen could do was choose an attitude, fight with his life on the line. Even if he died miserably on the path of seeking enlightenment, he would persevere to the end, never giving up. Duguao turned his head and smiled. Interesting. It turns out that Brother Xiao has moments of helplessness as well. Your expression clearly shows that you are seeking death. If this is not giving up, what is it? After Duguao spoke, his expression suddenly turned incredibly serious. You once said that there are some oaths that should not be broken after they are made. Let me tell you this as well. There are some things that you choose to persevere on and never give up on. I, Duguao, will help you block these 12 half-step Emperor Wu. Xian, help me hold him down. Before Xiao Chen could react, Mu Xian's hands landed on his shoulders. While he was distracted, she used the innate martial technique of the Eros demon race to trap him where he stood. Far away, Pei Yan's group, who had already fled far away, extended their mental perception to the maximum, quietly observing everything here. Several people who sensed the auras of half-step Emperor Wu all rushed over. Then, they silently observed from a distance. However, they were extremely cautious. No one dared to advance rashly. Instead, they approached to watch the show. 12 foreign half-step Emperor Wu appeared in the human-demon paradise at the same time. This was something rarely seen since ancient times. Some of the half-step martial emperor experts revealed horrified expressions when they heard the descriptions of the newcomers from the people who had escaped. Based on these descriptions, these half-step Emperor Wu seemed to be the direct subordinates of the primes of the Kunlun continent. This was the intention of the primes. Some primes wanted to make a move on that white-robed bladesman. Immediately, these people no longer dared to think about going to Death Swamp to watch the show. Even the old black iron monster, a ruthless person who could kill Emperor Wu, did not dare to act rashly. The identity of that white-robed bladesman piqued everyone's curiosity. What kind of existence could he be for so many primes to make a move at the same time? Everyone had their own opinions, but no one could give an accurate answer. Inside Death Swamp, Xiao Chen was conscious, but he could not move his body. Mu Xian used a strange technique to paralyze Xiao Chen's body. Strands of pink energy entered Xiao Chen's body and slowly healed his injuries. This did not look like a technique for trapping people. Instead, it looked more like an Eros demon's healing martial technique. Duguao looked at the 12 half-step Emperor Wu experts in the air. Then, he stepped forward and blocked Xiao Chen, silently expressing his stance. The deity race expert in the air smiled coldly and arrogantly. Interesting. A mixed-blood bastard dares to meddle in other people's business. Do you know who you are facing now? Even the human demon sees Emperor Wu did not dare to stop us. To think that a bastard like you dares to stand up for him. Quickly scram. Even if your father, Dugu Kuang, came, he would not dare to interfere in today's matter. Take your woman and leave immediately. Don't blame us for not warning you. It seemed like Duguao's clan was not simple in the human demon sea. The 12 half-step Emperor Wu experts, who had been silent all this while, all shouted coldly when they saw Duguao step forward. They did not make a move immediately. Far away, the many cultivators paying close attention to this place were all stunned when they saw Duguao step forward. Is he stupid? To think that he is facing 12 half-step Emperor Wu experts at the same time for the sake of an outsider. It's over. He is really tired of living. We already told him to leave, but he is still not leaving. These demon mixed-blood cultivators felt that Duguao's actions were not worth it. However, when some people heard Duguao being called a bastard, they felt a strange bitterness in their hearts. No matter how proud they were or how talented they were, in the eyes of this group of outsiders, demon mixed-blood cultivators were still considered bastards. Duguao's lips curled up slightly. He smiled somewhat self-mockingly and said, bastard. What you said is not wrong. I, Dugu-ao, am indeed a bastard. There is nothing to deny. I have the blood of the deep abyss demon race flowing in my body. However, my heart will always be proud. Even if I am a bastard, I am still 100 times, 10,000 times stronger than you bunch of shameless people who use numbers to bully others. There are some things that you bunch of people will never understand. The persistence and dreams of some people cannot be tarnished by you bunch of lackeys. Right after Dugu-ao spoke, his eyes suddenly turned scarlet. A strong wind blew, and an incomparably horrifying aura surged out from his body. A demon seemed to be released from Dugu-ao's body. His body turned into a greedy funnel. Dugu-ao's body absorbed the boundless demonic chi in the death swamp. This caused his aura to soar. After a while, he actually managed to block the auras of 12 half-step blue-robed emperors by himself. Suddenly, Dugu-ao attacked ferociously. A demon mixed-blood cultivator corpse flew over from the ground. Dugu-ao opened his mouth and bit the corpse's neck. In the blink of an eye, Dugu-ao sucked up all the blood in the corpse. Dugu-ao's hair turned scarlet and grew wildly. Soon, Dugu-ao's hair reached Dugu-ao's waist. His clothes tore, and a pair of scarlet, fleshy wings grew on his back. With a gentle flap, he hovered in the air. Chapter 12:17. When the mysterious red-clad man hiding in the darkness saw this scene, he was greatly startled. Unexpectedly, the bloodline of a demonic human had reached king grade and even awakened the rare blood demon transformation, the blood demon transformation. Several of the blood demon's demon monarch's bloodline were only at this level, perhaps even weaker. Such a change stunned the 12 half-step Emperor Wu. Unexpectedly, an unremarkable mixed-blood bastard could erupt with such a startling aura. Bastard, are you thinking of overturning the heavens? In the sky, the two deity race half-step Emperor Wu snorted coldly. Then, they attacked at the same time, forming hand seals and sending out mental energy martial techniques. The light in the sky condensed into a divine sword, punishing Dugu-ao. Dugu-ao turned around and glared. A red light flashed in his eyes, spreading a berserk murderous intent, striking fear in others. With this glare, the two deity race half-step martial emperors felt an indescribable horror. Overturning the heavens? I never thought of it. However, today, you want to bully me, Dugu-ao, with numbers? I absolutely will not allow that. Mu Shiyan, bring Shao Qin away. Dugu-ao maintained his last bit of rationality. After he spoke, he waved his hand and drew out most of the death chi in the human-demon paradise. Right now, he was like a fish in water in this human-demon paradise with dense death chi. The amount of death chi he could draw out was even more than that of the two ghost race half-step Emperor Wus combined. Dugu-ao easily dealt with the attacks of the two deity race experts with one palm strike. Reluctance flashed in Mu Shiyan's eyes, as well as intense conflict. However, in the end, she made up her mind to bring Shao Qin away. In the end, she was shocked to discover that Shao Qin, whom she had trapped with her Eros demon secret technique, was not completely paralyzed. He was still resisting her secret technique. If she moved, Shao Qin would immediately regain his freedom. Her expression involuntarily turned anxious. Shao Qin, just come with me. Mu Shiyan was so anxious that she nearly cried. Shao Qin did not move. He could not speak, but his consciousness was clear. With Dugu-ao's current state, he could indeed block 12 half-step Emperor Wu. However, it would not be easy. Once this state disappeared, only death awaited Dugu-ao. He couldn't leave. He couldn't watch his friend die for him. High up in the sky changed color, winds blew, and clouds churned. Although the berserk Dugu-ao was in a somewhat sorry state, he could fight 1 against 12, truly blocking all the half-step Emperor Wu. With a raise of his hand, most of the human-demon paradise would tremble, filling the sky above the human-demon paradise with surging black clouds. The cultivators watching from afar were all stunned. They had long known that Dugu-ao had not used his blood demon innate talent and cultivated the quintessence of the human race. However, Xiaoqin had not expected Dugu-ao to be so ridiculously strong after he used the blood demon's innate talent and went berserk. Dugu-ao laughed loudly, completely ignoring his injuries as he fought against the 12 half-step Emperor Wu. He was like a helpless ruffian. As long as anyone dared to go down, he would pester them, not caring about anything else. Dugu-ao casually glanced around and saw that Xiaoqin had not left yet. He could not help crying out hoarsely, "Go! What are you still standing there for?" While Dugu-ao was distracted, the two Ghost Race half-step Emperor Wu found an opportunity to attack him, one from the front and one from the back. When experts exchanged moves, how could they allow themselves to be distracted? This was especially so for the ridiculously strong half-step Emperor Wu. "You are seeking death!" Dugu-ao roared. His figure flickered like a phantom as he sent two palm strikes back, causing the two Ghost Race cultivators to vomit blood and retreat. Just as Dugu-ao wanted to follow up with another attack, the other half-step Emperor Wu charged over. Both sides immediately fell into a stalemate again. However, Dugu-ao had something holding him back. Occasionally, he turned his head back to look. When he saw that Xiaoqin still had not left, he could not help reminding him. "Go!" Dugu-ao cried out hoarsely. Every time he cried out, someone would take the opportunity to severely injure him, causing him to vomit large mouthfuls of blood. His miserable state was very frightening. However, Dugu-ao did not stop. As long as he found an opportunity in the frenzied battle, he would cry out, his cries echoing in the sky. "Go! Go! Go!" The word "go" reverberated throughout the entire human-demon paradise, sounding sorrowful and sorrowful. Everyone's expressions changed. However, could Xiaoqin really leave? Could he leave? Of course not. The words "go, go, go" were like thunder, each word stained with blood. How could he leave in peace? Xiaoqian's body, which had been paralyzed by Mu Xinya, trembled slightly. His hands, which hung by his side, trembled endlessly. In such a difficult situation, he clenched them into fists. Xiaoqian's eyes looked like they were about to bleed. Every word that Dugu-ao said, "Go," was like a knife deeply carved into Xiaoqian's heart. Mu Xiyan, who was behind, bit her lip. Fragrant sweat covered her forehead. She felt that she could no longer control Xiaoqian. This made her feel very surprised. The succubus race's secret technique was the innate ability of succubi. Normally, when it was used by surprise, it would cause the succubus race to lose all of its strength. Normally, when it was executed unexpectedly, even someone as strong as the half-step Emperor Wu would find it hard to struggle free. As time went by, he would slowly fall asleep. This was not an offensive martial technique. It was just an innate ability of the Eros demons. Its main purpose was to put people into a deep sleep so that they could harvest their energy. This allowed the energy of the target to be harvested to be drained unknowingly while they were asleep. Naturally, Mu Xiyan did not want to harvest Xiaoqin right now. She just wanted Xiaoqin to fall asleep so she could bring him away from this place, not letting down Dugu-ao's efforts. However, the reality was somewhat unexpected. Xiaoqian's willpower was unexpectedly strong. Not only did he not fall asleep, but he even struggled even more intensely, showing signs of breaking free at any moment. This placed even more pressure on Mu Xiyan. If this continued, Xiaoqin would really break free. At that time, Dugu-ao would be risking his life, wasting the opportunity that he obtained. Tears flickered in Mu Xiyan's eyes as she started crying anxiously. At this moment, she felt extreme regret. If she had not gotten Dugu-ao to help her obtain the mutated demonic essence core, none of this would have happened. In such an anxious situation, a certain mysterious red-clad man hidden in the darkness calmly analyzed the situation for a while before giving up on making a move. The battle in the sky leaned more and more in favor of the 12 half-step Emperor Wus. In the end, it was still too much to fight 1 against 12. If not for the dense demonic chi in this human-demon paradise, Dugu-ao would have gained the upper hand. Even if he executed the blood demon transformation, the innate ability of the blood demon race, he would not be able to last for so long. Most importantly, the duration of the blood demon transformation seemed to be about to end. When Xiaoqin saw this, his heart bled. This was the thing that he feared the most in his life. There were some things that he could have saved but ended up regretting for some reason. For example, if Xiaoqin could struggle free of Mu Xian's control, Dugu-ao would not die. Back then, when Ao Jiao blocked the lightning tribulation for him, Xiaoqin swore that he would not let something like that happen to him again. He did not want to experience that kind of regret and heart-wrenching pain again. Right now, Xiaoqin did not blame Mu Xian. Everyone had their own perseverance. In Mu Xian's world, Dugu-ao's words were the only thing that mattered. Even if Dugu-ao asked her to die, she would not hesitate to do so. Endure. Don't die. Please don't die. As Xiaoqin watched Dugu-ao continue to resist, he did his best to struggle free. Veins bulged on his tightly clenched fists, and sweat continuously dripped down his forehead. Xiaoqin slowly regained control of his body, slowly expelling Mu Xian's pink energy from his body. After a long time, Xiaoqin also found a way to deal with this pink energy. After executing it, it slowly took effect. Boom! Suddenly, Dugu-ao's aura plummeted. The duration of the blood demon transformation came to an end. Bastard, go and die. After being delayed for so long by Dugu-ao and injuring several half-step Emperor Wu, Dugu-ao would not be able to vent the hatred in his heart if he did not kill him. Seeing that Dugu-ao could no longer maintain the blood demon transformation and that his prestige had dropped significantly, the rage that the 12 half-step martial emperors had been suppressing for a long time erupted at the same time. Their figures flashed as they charged at Dugu-ao. Dugu-ao coughed endlessly, and blood flowed continuously. As he watched the 12 half-step blue-robed emperors charge at him, his consciousness slowly turned hazy. Before Dugu-ao fainted, he turned his head back and saw that Xiaoqin had not left yet. He wanted to shout one more time, one last time. However, Dugu-ao's throat was already hoarse from all the shouting. This time, he simply could not do it. He opened his mouth and silently shouted in his heart, "Go." Then, he closed his eyes and lost consciousness. It was unknown whether he was dead or alive. No. The instant Dugu-ao closed his eyes, a clear opening appeared in Mu Xian's mental state. Xiaoqin, who was about to struggle free in the first place, roared ferociously and shot forward. Just as the 12 half-step Emperor Wus were about to reach Dugu-ao, Xiaoqin shouted, "Die." Without even thinking, Dugu-ao took out the trump card he had been saving, the golden plume feather. This golden plume feather, which could kill Emperor Wu, released a dazzling light the instant it burned. It was as dazzling as the sun, so bright that no one dared to open their eyes. At that moment, the light of this golden plume feather covered the entire human-demon paradise. Sensing a dangerous aura, the expressions of the 12 half-step Emperor Wus changed. When they clearly saw the golden plume feather, they were all startled. Originally, these half-step Emperor Wus were charging forward, wanting to deal a fatal blow to Dugu-ao, whose fate was unknown. However, when they saw the golden plume feather, they frantically retreated. However, it was already too late. No matter how fast the few people at the front retreated, they could not dodge it completely. Miserable cries rang out. When the light swept past the 4 human experts at the front, they turned into ashes, dying without a complete corpse. The others who were caught in the shockwave all suffered injuries that were neither light nor severe. At the very least, there were still 6 half-step Emperor Wus who could hold their own. Even if Xiaoqin were not injured, he would not be a match for them. Furthermore, he was currently riddled with internal injuries. After Xiaoqin analyzed the situation rationally, he supported the unconscious Dugu-ao and looked coldly at the half-step Emperor Wus. Then, he quickly returned to Mu Xian's side. "Let's go." Before Shao Chen could explain to Mu Xian in detail, he carried Dugu Ao with one hand and Mu Xian with the other as he quickly headed to the back. Chapter 12:18. Why did Shao Chen not head for the exit? There were too many demon mixed blood experts there, watching quietly. Given Shao Chen's current state, if these demon mixed blood cultivators became greedy, they would just be walking into a trap. They could only head deeper into the human demon sea. This is the moment I was waiting for. Die. However, just at this moment, the mysterious red-clad man, who had been quietly waiting for an opportunity, saw Shao Chen toss out his final trump card. The instant Shao Chen landed, he suddenly made his move. That red-clad man's body turned into a stream of scarlet liquid and continuously elongated. Then, he turned into a thin red beam of light and shot towards Shao Chen's chest at lightning speed. How fast! The expression of Shao Chen, who was carrying Dugu Ao and Mu Xian, changed drastically. Shock flashed in his heart. His thoughts raced as he quickly tried to think of a countermeasure. However, he helplessly discovered that in his current state, he could not dodge the scarlet beam of light that shot towards him. This person was like the coldest venomous snake in the world, hiding in the darkness. As long as his prey showed an opening, he would immediately make his move, killing him in one strike. Damn it! Am I going to die in the end? Shao Chen, who had no trump cards left, felt despair in his heart as he looked at that strange and mysterious martial technique. What a coincidence! I was waiting for this moment as well. He will not die at your hands. Just as that red beam of light was about to pierce Shao Chen's chest and suck away Shao Chen's blood, a figure suddenly appeared. It was like this figure had been waiting for a long time. Light and darkness, two different colors, met in the air and formed a youth with a sword on his back and a faint smile on his face. In the time it took for a spark to fly, the young swordsman withdrew his smile and attacked coldly, quickly drawing the sword on his back. Xiao! The sword light flickered, and the sword intent was startling. The young swordsman held his sword horizontally in front of his chest with both hands, using the blade of his sword to block that strange red beam of light. There was a loud bang, as if something had hit the stone floor. Blood lines continued to accumulate, forming a figure once more. The figure howled in pain as it was knocked back. The red-clothed youth clutched his head with his right hand. His sure-kill attack had been blocked. He glared at the person who had come and shouted, "Chu Chaoyun, how dare you spoil my plans?" After surviving the calamity, Shao Chen's face was filled with astonishment. This time, it was really an accident. He wasn't surprised that the three great supreme beings had sent people to stir up trouble. However, he hadn't expected that they would put in so much effort. However, the appearance of Chu Chaoyun was completely unexpected. No matter how hard Shao Chen racked his brains, he would never have imagined that this person would appear. With just a glance, one could tell that the mysterious man in red was a powerful figure from the Abyss Devil race. Thinking about it carefully, it was reasonable for the Abyss Devil race's expert to appear here. Back then, the Qing Emperor could single-handedly drive back the 18 demon emperors. Even the Netherworld Hierarch was injured by the Qing Emperor. Shao Chen led the Dragon's Gate's war venerate into and out of the deep abyss demonic world several times, killing several demon race experts and being unrivaled for an era. It would be strange if such a person did not inspire fear in the other party. It made perfect sense for the other party to send someone to stop Shao Chen from becoming the second Qing Emperor. Only Chu Chaoyun, a person who was both friend and foe, an unfathomable character, appeared here. Shao Chen was not surprised at all. Why exactly did he appear here? Furthermore, he even helped Shao Chen block this sure-kill attack. Before Shao Chen could continue thinking, the many half-step Emperor Wu, who were knocked back by the golden plume feather, recovered their strength and regrouped, charging at him. Shao Chen pushed off the ground, and a heavy murderous intent flashed in his eyes. Then, he led Mu Xian and Dugu Ao towards the depths of the human-demon paradise. After him. Of the 6 half-step Emperor Wu from the 3 Holy Masters' land, 4 died. The losses were extremely heavy. The remaining two roared ferociously and led the remaining people in the direction that Xiaochen fled. Chu Chaoyun, who was facing off with the red-clad blood demon, looked back, and a large golden flame shot out from his eyes, blocking the path of the group of people. The moment the golden flame appeared, it burned space. It was like a great desolate aeon ferocious beast opening its mouth and slowly swallowing everything. Soon, it swallowed up most of the space, looking extremely horrifying. Heavenly Flame. The pursuing half-step Emperor Wu were startled and quickly retreated. However, halfway back, they suddenly discovered that something was wrong. They reacted and said, "That's not right. This is not a complete heavenly flame." This was indeed not a complete heavenly flame, as it did not contain the heavenly flame's origin flame. Although this heavenly flame was strong, it was just a facade. As long as the half-step Emperor Wu used law energy, they could protect their physical bodies and charge through this horrifying heavenly flame. This was the best time to pursue Xiao Chen and Dugu Ao's group without wasting their time. The group of half-step Emperor Wu glared at Chu Chaoyun, their eyes brimming with murderous intent and rage. However, when they saw the person facing off with Chu Chaoyun, the expressions of the remaining 8 half-step Emperor Wus changed involuntarily. A high-ranked blood demon. That mysterious red-clad man clearly had the aura of a high-ranked blood demon. Furthermore, he did not have the aura of any other race. He was a genuine expert of the devil race, not a mixed blood. Strange, why would there be a high-ranking devil race in this place? Doubts gathered in everyone's hearts. This group of high-ranking devils should most likely appear in the star battlefield. As Chu Chaoyun looked at this group of half-step Emperor Wu with mountainous auras and overflowing killing chi, he smiled faintly and said indifferently, "Why aren't you giving chase? If we don't give chase now, we won't be able to catch up to him." The group of half-step Emperor Wu seemed to wake up from a dream. Only now did they remember that the main purpose of this trip was to pursue Xiao Chen and prevent him from obtaining the flower of life. Rather than staying here and dawdling with some irrelevant people, as for why the devil experts would appear here, it was not something they needed to worry about. "You fellow. I'll deal with you later." After glaring at Chu Chaoyun, the many half-step Emperor Wu soared into the air and gave chase in the direction that Xiao Chen had gone. "Chu Chaoyun, do you really think that I do not dare to make a move on you?" the half-step Emperor Wu asked coldly when he saw that Chu Chaoyun dared to split his attention to block Xiao Chen. The red-clad man asked coldly, feeling looked down on. Chu Chaoyun slowly sheathed the sword in his hand. Then, he smiled humbly and said, "Naturally, I do not dare." "Don't give me that." The red-clad man said, "I am here on the orders of the Night Blood Demon Monarch to kill the Qing Emperor's descendant." "Why are you blocking me? Are you trying to oppose the Demon Monarch?" Chu Chaoyun bowed slightly. Despite the red-clad man's overbearing words, he remained as calm as still water. He said indifferently, "I do not dare. I am only here to tell you that you have a new mission. We need to depart immediately." The red-clad man smiled coldly and said, "Do you think I'm a fool? Do you think I don't know better than you whether I have a mission or not? In the 18 realms of the deep abyss, only the Night Blood Demon Monarch can order me around and give me missions. My current mission is to kill the Qing Emperor's descendant. Anyone who blocks me will be disrespecting the Demon Monarch and will have to die." As the red-clad man spoke, a murderous intent flashed in his eyes. He took a step forward and pressed forward. "Break one of your arms first, and I will pretend this never happened. Otherwise, when the Night Blood Demon Monarch finds out, you will not survive even if you have 9 lives." Chu Chaoyun remained unmoved. Just as the red-clad man was about to fly into a rage, a deep and cold black medallion suddenly appeared in Chu Chaoyun's hand. The Netherworld Medallion. When the overbearing red-clad man saw this medallion, he turned pale with fright. He was in some disbelief and no longer had his earlier overbearing attitude. The Netherworld Medallion. Anyone who could hold the Netherworld Medallion had to be here on orders from the Dark Church's highest echelon. They were special envoys that even the Demon Monarch would be able to obtain. "Greetings, Lord Special Envoy." The red-clad man bowed as a look of dissatisfaction flashed in his eyes. Chu Chaoyun narrowed his eyes slightly and smiled faintly. You are too polite. However, Yi Wuxin, you should be greeting Special Envoy Chaoyun and not just Lord Special Envoy. The red-clad man, Yi Wuxin, suppressed the rage in his heart and said, Yes, Yi Wuxin greets Special Envoy Chaoyun. You are too polite. Chu Chaoyun smiled faintly and continued, Yi Wuxin, heed my orders. I order you to rush to the astral battlefield and suppress the rise of Di Wuk and the other Kunlun continent's younger generation. When Yi Wuxin heard this, he was greatly startled. You must be joking. Do the so-called outstanding talents of the Kunlun continent need to mobilize the demon race geniuses with king-grade bloodlines? Chu Chaoyun's tone remained calm and unhurried. He said, This is your mission. Whether you believe it or not, it's up to you. You have the Netherworld medallion, so I'll believe you for now. However, if I find out that you lied to me, I will definitely not spare you. Although he was unwilling to leave just like that, Chu Chaoyun had come with the Netherworld token, so he had no choice but to rush to the Starry Sky battlefield immediately. Not at all. No matter how daring I am, I wouldn't dare to joke around with the Netherworld token. Chu Chaoyun said softly with a sincere look on his face. Yi Wuxin also guessed that Chu Chaoyun did not have such guts. After letting out a cold snort, he turned into a bloody light and bounced around, disappearing in front of Chu Chaoyun in the blink of an eye. Chu Chaoyun watched the other party leave and muttered, A demon with a royal bloodline is indeed difficult to deal with. With this speed, I'm afraid there aren't many in the same generation who can catch up to him. But his brain is still a little lacking. Chu Chaoyun smiled faintly and brought the Netherworld medallion to his lips. He gently blew on it, and the so-called Netherworld medallion, which caused Yi Wuxin to tremble in fear, immediately turned into a pile of ashes and scattered with the wind. If Yi Wuxin were here and knew that Chu Chaoyun tricked him into leaving obediently and even bowing to him, he would probably be so angry that he would vomit blood. On this side, Chu Chaoyun helped Shao Chen get rid of a strong enemy with just a few words. On the other side, a team of 8 half-step Emperor Wu chased after Shao Chen wildly. However, after losing the initiative, they lost sight of Shao Chen in the complicated terrain of the human-demon paradise. They split up several times to search for him, but to no avail. They flew into a rage out of humiliation and wanted to turn back to seek trouble for Chu Chaoyun. However, they discovered that Chu Chaoyun was long gone. Now that both sides were empty, the originally angry Emperor Wu became even more frustrated. Forget it, let's not chase after him. We'll just wait outside for him. There are still 10 more days before the human-demon paradise closes. When that time comes, the people inside will be forcefully teleported out. The instant he comes out, we'll take him down. There's no need to waste words with him. The masked expert of the 3 holy masters said coldly. Chapter 12:19. Let's do it that way. There is no need to fear him coming out. We absolutely cannot let this fellow advance to Martial Emperor. Otherwise, he will trample on us. Look at his eyes, he looks like he wants to eat us up. The few of them quickly conversed. After reaching a consensus, they quickly came to a unanimous decision. They stood guard outside the stone stele, waiting for the human-demon paradise to close and for Shao Chen to be forcibly sent out. In an unremarkable valley in the depths of the human-demon paradise, Shao Chen laid down a simple illusion formation, concealing his group in this complicated environment. When Shao Chen walked over and saw the injured Dugu Ao, his expression turned terrifyingly sullen. How is he? Shao Chen asked Mu Xiyan, who was currently treating Dugu Ao's injuries. Mu Xiyan shook her head, showing a sorrowful expression. Her voice trembled as she said, his injuries are too severe. There are too many things. There is no way to treat him. His entire physical body feels like it is completely destroyed. When Shao Chen heard that, his heart sank. On the surface of Dugu Ao's body, he could no longer see any part of it that was intact. Unexpectedly, Dugu Ao's internal injuries were even more severe than these horrifying external injuries. Let me take a look. Walking over, Xiaoqin used the pulse reading method from the Compendium of Cultivation to check Dugu Ao's injuries. Moving his spiritual sense, Xiaoqin saw that Dugu Ao's internal organs were nearly all shattered, wriggling like a pile of meat paste. This made one feel sad for some reason. Xiaoqin finally understood why Mu Xiyan said that there was no way to treat Dugu Ao. Aside from these internal injuries, Dugu Ao's meridians were all ruptured and clogged up, preventing him from circulating his law energy. If not for a mysterious energy in Dugu Ao's bloodline slowly healing his injuries, Dugu Ao would have died long ago. However, the unconscious Dugu Ao instinctively resisted the awakening of that mysterious energy. Xiaoqian's heart skipped a beat. He somewhat understood. If this mysterious energy completely occupied Dugu Ao's body, it would not be able to do anything to him. After this mysterious energy completely occupied Dugu Ao's body, Dugu Ao could only cultivate demonic qi and survive in this world as a blood demon, living a life that he disliked the most. His instincts made him resist the mysterious powers healing even when he was unconscious. However, if Dugu Ao continued resisting like this, when his life force completely disappeared, there would be no hope for him. If Xiaoqin had to choose, he would rather let Dugu Ao become a demon with a single thought. Perhaps he might be able to find a way to salvage the situation in the future. Xiaoqin let go and remained silent for a long time. The scene of Dugu Ao facing the 12 half-step Emperor Wu's shouting kept replaying in his mind. 12 half-step martial emperors surrounded Dugu Ao, but he could only watch helplessly. He would never forget this humiliation for the rest of his life. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. The sound of blood lingering in Dugu Ao's ears rang out. With every word, the 12 half-step Emperor Wu seized an opportunity to severely injure Dugu Ao. However, Dugu Ao did not forget. Even after the blood demon transformation disappeared, he still called out for Xiaoqin to leave. Xiaoqin thought to himself, if not for Dugu Ao still thinking about me, his injuries might not be as severe as they are now. Guilt, self-blame, murderous intent, and all sorts of other emotions filled Xiaoqian's heart. At this moment, Xiaoqin craved power. There had never been a moment where he craved power so much. There had never been a moment where he wanted to kill some people so much. Xiaoqin opened the entrance to the immortal spirit ring and let Ao Jiao out. Then, he begged, little Ao Jiao, don't let him die. No matter what, don't let him die. I beg of you. When Ao Jiao came out, she wanted to throw a tantrum. However, when she saw Xiaoqian's eyes filled with complicated emotions, her heart ached for some reason. Even back then, on his path to martial emperor, Xiaoqin had not suffered as much as Xiaoqin. It could even be said that since ancient times, there had never been an outstanding talent who had walked the path to martial emperor as arduously as Xiaoqin. I'll do my best, Ao Jiao said softly. With Ao Jiao's help, even if Dugu Ao could not wake up immediately, she should be able to stop the loss of life force. With a flip of his hand, the flower of life and the death fruit appeared in Xiaoqian's palm at the same time. The moment the life aura and the death aura appeared, they started fighting each other. Two clumps of energy, one black and one white, appeared on Xiaoqian's palm, clashing with each other. When Ao Jiao saw this scene, she was mildly startled. She said, "You choose to break through now? That is too short. The human-demon paradise would only be open for 10 days. After 10 days, everyone would be forcefully sent out. If Xiaoqian's process of condensing the heart of an emperor was interrupted, he would definitely fail. Killing him was the only way to advance to martial emperor in 5 years. 10 days was too risky." Ao Jiao shook her head and said, "Xiaoqian, don't be rash." Determination appeared in Xiaoqian's eyes as he said calmly, "I'm not being rash. Actually, this is my last chance. Even if I recover from my injuries, I still will not stand a chance against the 8 half-step Emperor Wu's waiting outside 10 days from now. Only by condensing the heart of an emperor and becoming a consummation blue-robed emperor can I have a chance of defeating them. The slightest mistake on the path to martial emperor will result in eternal damnation." If possible, I would not want to take such a risk. However, these people are forcing me. I already have no way out. I cannot live under the same sky as them. I am willing to pay the price of failing to advance to martial emperor to bet the lives of this group of people. Either they die, or I die. The images of the remaining 8 half-step emperor Wus appeared in Xiao Chen's mind. A heavy murderous intent flashed in his eyes. Right after Xiao Chen spoke, he stopped hesitating and directly swallowed the flower of life and death fruit. Xiao Chen hovered in midair and sat down cross-legged. Then, he quickly circulated the life and death art, which he could already recite backward. An intense life aura and a heavy death aura were like two vast armies fighting an intense battle in Xiao Chen's body. They fought for dominance. No one liked the other. The constant conflict caused Xiao Chen immense pain. He wanted to vomit blood and give up. Xiao Chen maintained his last bit of clarity and used the life and death art to do his best to tame these two extremely vast energies. Only by perfectly taming and exhausting these two energies could the life and death art evolve layer by layer until it underwent a complete transformation, allowing Xiao Chen to condense the heart of an emperor that only Emperor Wus possessed. Mysterious phenomena appeared in the air. One moment, it was hell. The next moment, it was heaven on earth. The changes were unfathomable and incredible. When Ao Jiao saw this, she felt very worried. 10 days was still too short. Outside the stone stele, the 8 half-step Emperor Wus of the various races sat cross-legged, each guarding a corner as they looked coldly at the exit of the human-demon paradise. Every time a demon mixed blood walked out of the exit, they would feel a vast killing intent that could topple mountains and flip the seas. This scared these human demon sea cultivators into not even daring to breathe loudly. After these human demon cultivators carefully walked far away, they panted heavily. When they saw the 8 half-step Emperor Wus surging killing chi, they felt a deep fear. With 8 half-step Emperor Wus experts guarding this place, even an expert of the old black iron monster's level would be stunned in an instant. Discussions broke out in the distance. Clearly, news of what happened in the human-demon paradise had already spread. As for the white-robed bladesman being able to escape from the attacks of 12 half-step Emperor Wu's half-step Emperor Wu, they were all astonished. Dugu Ao's crazed action at the last moment also influenced countless people. To be able to make a friend like Dugu Ao was truly the white-robed bladesman's fortune. Everyone felt some envy in their hearts. In this world where human relationships were as thin as water, if one wanted to have an ordinary friend, one would need to have some mutual benefits. However, at the last moment, Dugu Ao gave up on his chance to escape and stepped forward bravely, using his life to help Xiao Chen obtain a chance. Unfortunately, given the current situation, no matter how hard the two worked in the human-demon paradise, they would not be able to escape. When the 10 days passed and the two were forcibly sent out, they would still face the combined attacks of 8 half-step Emperor Wu's half-step Emperor Wu. Time passed day by day. The day of the human-demon paradise's closing drew closer, like a countdown to death. Many cultivators gathered outside the ancient stone stele, waiting for the final scene. The opening of the human-demon paradise was full of twists and turns. There were many unexpected surprises that no one could have expected. The strong appearance of the 12 half-step Emperor Wu's foreign half-step Emperor Wu completely disrupted the rules of the human-demon paradise, forcing many people to leave early. As a result, there were still 3 days before the human-demon paradise closed, but most of the people had already left. The reason was none other than the fact that no one wanted to be killed by mistake at the last moment. In the past few days, several demon mixed blood cultivators had died at the hands of the 8 half-step Emperor Wu's half-step Emperor Wu. Perhaps it was because they were killed by mistake, or perhaps it was because they were in a bad mood and wanted to vent, causing everyone to feel anxious. However, no one dared to say anything. Logically speaking, the 8 half-step Emperor Wus were far from being able to suppress all the cultivators here. However, they had the primes behind them, giving them the capital to do whatever they wanted in the human-demon sea without any worries. In a desolate valley in the human-demon paradise, Xiao Chen was anxiously making a breakthrough. One was black, one was white. Life chi and death chi mixed together. At the very beginning, they had already started to merge together. However, they were still far from reaching a complete equilibrium. In the air, there were 4 rings of light of different colors behind Xiao Chen. Each ring of light had a different mysterious phenomenon in it. The 4 rings of light meant that Xiao Chen had already broken through to the 4th layer of the life and death art. There were still 3 more layers. As long as he could successfully break through, he would be able to condense a heart of an emperor in one go and advance to consummation blue-robed emperor. However, the latter 3 layers were each more dangerous than the one before. Every time Xiao Chen made a breakthrough, he would be at the gates of hell. Ka-Xie. Suddenly, cracks appeared in the 4 rings of light behind Xiao Chen. The life and death chi in Xiao Chen's body went out of control. It was like a wild horse that had broken free of its reins, running amok in Xiao Chen's body. Xiao Chen's face turned sinister and horrifying at one moment, like a black-faced evil spirit from hell. Then, it turned frighteningly pale, looking like he had died. Chapter 12:20. The black and white lights changed unpredictably, making the people who cared about him feel uneasy and uneasy. Ao Jiao showed a nervous expression. She knew that Xiao Chen was about to forcefully break through again. If he succeeded, he would enter the 5th layer of the life and death art. If he failed, everything would be over. Without a doubt, the further he went, the higher the chances of failure would be. The difficulty would multiply. It would be hard not to worry. Xiao. Suddenly, the light on Xiao Chen's body stopped flickering. A new ring of light appeared behind him. He had succeeded in forcefully breaking through to the 5th layer of the life and death art. Between life and death, Xiao Chen, who was sitting cross-legged, felt the vast mental energy in his sea of consciousness slowly gathering. It was like a pile of liquid metal that was constantly being molded and changed its shape. After 5 life and death junctures, this enormous mental power had molded it into a blurry human silhouette. Xiao Chen felt that as long as he cleared the remaining 2 layers of life and death and cultivated the life and death art to the 7th layer, he would experience a qualitative leap, a change that he could not predict. However, if he failed, his mind would crumble. The consequences would range from becoming an idiot to brain death. The danger was great. However, for the sake of the belief in his heart, he had to persevere. Xiao Chen clenched his teeth. He endured the immense pressure and the pain of switching between life and death. Then, he resolutely chose to continue cultivating the life and death art to the 6th layer. One day. There were only 2 days left before the human-demon paradise closed. Xiao Chen was still trying to break through to the 6th layer of the life and death art. Another day passed. Xiao Chen successfully broke through to the 6th layer of the life and death art and made preparations for the 7th layer. However, there was only 1 day left. If Xiao Chen failed to break through, then the instant he was sent out of the human-demon paradise, he would suffer the combined attacks of the 8 half-step Emperor Wus. Not only would he suffer severe injuries, but the backlash from the life and death art being interrupted would also be even more severe. However, Xiao Chen used 2 days to break through to the 6th layer. No matter how one looked at it, 1 day would not be enough to break through to the 7th layer. Heavy anxiety flashed in Ao Jiao's eyes. After she used some peak medicinal pills from the Thunder King's secret treasures, she managed to stabilize Dugu Ao's injuries. Dugu Ao's life force stopped flowing away. However, he remained unconscious, resisting the healing from the demonic race bloodline. His situation was still not optimistic. Ao Jiao and Mu Xian were both somewhat anxious. They could not think of any good ideas. Outside the stele, the sun was setting in the west and the sky was getting darker. The 8 half-step Emperor Wu sitting around it all had a cold smile on their faces. When the sun rose again, Xiao Chen and the others would be forcibly teleported out. It would also be the time for them to make their move. This time, they would not give Xiao Chen any chance. It was impossible for a descendant of the Qing Emperor to become an emperor. A large number of demonic hybrids were gathered around the stone stele, and none of them seemed to have any intention of leaving. Everyone knew that the white-robed bladesman would be sent out at daybreak. Although Shao Chen believed in his heart that the white-robed bladesman was already a dead man, he still wanted to take one last look. He wanted to take a look at this white-robed bladesman who shocked hundreds of people with one shout. Even if such a person died, he would have a different kind of elegance. It would be best if we can drag a few half-step Emperor Wu down with us. This group of bastards is too overboard. Someone could no longer suppress the rage in his heart. As he looked at the 8 half-step Emperor Wu, he cursed in a soft voice. Damn! Be quieter. Don't let this group of people hear you. Didn't you hear from those seniors that these 4 and half-step Emperor Wu all have primes backing them? We cannot afford to offend them. With primes backing them, they can casually kill us. Demon mixed blood. What can we do? After the Blood Sword Sovereign, our demon mixed blood did not have another prime. We are only alive because of the agreement between the 5 races and the Blood Sword Sovereign. The person who cursed first sighed silently. How could he not understand such a principle? However, he still felt dissatisfied in his heart. Originally, Dugu Ao possessed a perfect demon bloodline and could have reached the same height as the Blood Sword Sovereign. Unfortunately, it is hard to say whether he is dead or alive now. That might not be the case. Perhaps Dugu Ao is not dead yet. Everything will be clear in the morning. So what if he is not dead? When the morning sun rises, the human-demon paradise will close. He and that white-robed bladesman, who were sent out, will not be able to escape death. Low sighs and soft discussions filled this group of demon mixed-blood cultivators' rage and helplessness. As they looked at the 8 half-step Emperor Wu, they all had hostile gazes. However, there was nothing they could do. What could they do? No matter what they did, they would not be a match for a prime. No matter what, they could not change anything. Perhaps they really had to place their hopes on that white-robed bladesman. Let's see if he could drag a few people down with him before he died. That way, they would be able to vent some of the hatred in their hearts. This night was incredibly long. None of the demon mixed-blood cultivators present had ever experienced such an unbearable night. They probably all held some anticipation in their hearts as they waited. Perhaps that white-robed bladesman might be able to create another miracle. The darkness in the overcast sky slowly faded, and dawn approached. In the east, a ball of flame was hidden in the dark clouds, trying to break free from the last shackles and illuminate every inch of the land. Some people said that every sunrise symbolized new life and hope. The rising sun was always the most magnificent and enchanting scenery in the world. However, why did the rising sun that was about to appear today feel like it was announcing the arrival of death? It was strangling everyone's hope. The night was long, and there would always be the moment when the sun rose, whether you were willing or not. The night would eventually pass. The tens of thousands of demon mixed-blood cultivators on the desert islands all focused their gazes on the east, counting in their hearts. The 8 half-step Emperor Wus opened their eyes at the right time, staring at the top of the stone tablet. Once the sun rose, they would launch a thunderous attack. Life or death, the answer would be revealed soon. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. Before he could count to 10, the sun, which had been waiting for a long time in the far east, leaped out impatiently. It announced the existence of the blazing sun to the world, sweeping away all the darkness. That sun was extremely beautiful. One would never tire of looking at it, intoxicated and addicted to it. It's coming. Someone sighed silently. Everyone knew what the appearance of the rising sun signified. It meant that the genius with the perfect demon bloodline, which only appeared once every 10,000 years in the human-demon sea, would come to an end. It meant that the boundlessly elegant white-robed bladesman would be buried here. A single sunrise had not only taken away all the darkness in this world, but it had also taken away 2 peerless geniuses with shocking talents. A strong wind blew, and sand blew everywhere. The 8 half-step Emperor Wu stood up at the same time. The accumulated energy was too vast, causing the world to change. Winds blew, and clouds churned. As the wind howled, Sand and dust spread out, forming countless storms. The aura was so vast that everyone found it hard to breathe. Who would dare to say that they could survive such a situation? Whoosh! The moment the rising sun appeared, Xiao Chen, Dugu Ao, and the others, who were still in the human-demon paradise, were immediately forcefully sent out. They saw 6 rings of light, scarlet, orange, red, green, azure, and blue, behind Xiao Chen. Each ring of light represented a breakthrough in life and death. Under the illumination of the multicolored light, the 6 rings of light looked very beautiful. This was the most beautiful scene one could see after breaking through life and death. With one glance, one would be dazzled, deeply immersed in this dreamy scene. However, the 2 sides of Xiao Chen were not so dreamy. On one side was a hellish scene. Darkness filled the sky, and all sorts of vengeful spirits and evil spirits roamed about. It was a horrifying scene of hell. With one look, one would be startled and feel a chill down one's spine. On the other side was a scene brimming with life. Hundreds of flowers bloomed, and the 4 seasons cycled endlessly. It was like heaven, but also like a vanished immortal realm, inspiring fascination. Amid this vast mysterious phenomenon of life and death, Xiao Chen sat cross-legged at the top of the stone stele with his eyes closed. The 6 rings of light behind him were each larger than the one before. As the multicolored light illuminated him, he looked like a bodhisattva comprehending the Tao. Holy, dignified, and solemn. The appearance of such a vast and magnificent mysterious phenomenon surprised everyone. No one expected Xiao Chen to appear in such a manner after 10 days. Even the 8 half-step Emperor Wu did not make a move immediately, appearing distracted for a moment. When they reacted, their expressions changed dramatically. They knew that Xiao Chen had used up the flower of life and was in the midst of a nervous breakthrough. If they still did not make a move, Xiao Chen might really break through. Then, it would be hard to say what would happen. Attack! Don't let this brat succeed. Otherwise, we will all be finished. The half-step Emperor Wu of the deity race roared ferociously and took the lead to attack. The other 7 half-step Emperor Wu quickly followed. They instantly executed their powerful killing moves after storing up power, sending them smashing at Xiao Chen. Without exception, the 8 killing moves were all inferior-grade profound martial techniques. Furthermore, they were all inferior-grade profound martial techniques cultivated to great perfection. They were far from what a regular blue-robed emperor or half-step Emperor Wu could compare to. Oh no! The white-robed bladesman is going to die. Seeing so many inferior-grade profound martial techniques, several people could not help exclaiming. Even someone like the old black iron monster would have to retreat when facing such an attack, not daring to clash head-on. Furthermore, the great perfection blue-robed emperor was still in the midst of a nervous breakthrough. If he clashed head-on with this move, he would definitely die. There would not be a second result. Mu Xian hugged Dugu Ao, feeling flustered and at a loss. She did not know what to do. Sweat appeared on Ao Jiao's pretty face, and her hands trembled slightly. Her nervous expression was clear for all to see. However, the determination in her eyes did not waver at all. At this moment, there was only one thought in her mind: I absolutely cannot let Xiao Chen fall here. I absolutely cannot. Just as the 8 profound martial techniques were about to arrive, Ao Jiao stepped forward bravely. She waved her right hand, and the lunar shadow saber beside Xiao Chen appeared in her palm. Xiao Chen swung his saber ferociously, and a purple divine lightning tore through the sky. This was the divine lightning that appeared at the king conferral ceremony. The divine lightning contained the Tao and divine might left by the Thunder King, Sang Mu. This saber strike drove the divine lightning left by the Thunder King, allowing Ao Jiao to use her petite body to block the combined strike of 8 half-step Emperor Wu. Chapter 12:21. However, it was still insufficient to block 8 half-step Emperor Wu at the same time. Xiao Chen had already used the divine lightning once. This time, its might was significantly reduced. The divine lightning lasted for only a moment before Ao Jiao vomited a mouthful of blood and went flying back. Fortunately, the saber light accompanied by the divine lightning weakened most of the might of the profound martial technique. It was no longer as exaggerated as it was at the start. Ao Jiao, who was flying back, clenched her teeth and charged forward again. Her figure flickered endlessly in the air, blocking all the remaining attacks with her saber. If the attacks were too fast and could not be broken, she used her body to block them. In mere moments, she was covered in wounds, a sorry sight to behold. However, in the end, she still managed to help Xiao Chen block the first wave of killing moves. Damn it! When the 8 half-step Emperor Wu saw the situation, they cursed and immediately formed a second wave of attacks. This time, they intended to eliminate both Ao Jiao and Xiao Chen. However, a clump of light that was even more dazzling than the sun suddenly burned in the sky. It was so piercing that no one dared to look directly at it. A plume feather tore through the air from the clump of light, flying down ferociously. It was Little Yellow Feather. At this crucial moment, it used its remaining 2 plume feather. The group of half-step Emperor Wu had been beaten up miserably by this plume feather earlier. When they saw it again, how could they dare to show any temper? They were startled and immediately protected their bodies, quickly dodging. The same move was not very effective against this group of experienced half-step Emperor Wu. It did not manage to injure them. The plume feather exploded on the ground, and a 300-meter-wide golden light soared into the air. It burned a horrifying black hole in the ground, looking extremely horrifying. Kill this beast. When the masked half-step Emperor Wu of the 3 holy masters saw Little Yellow Feather, a murderous intent flared in their eyes. Little Yellow Feather's golden body spread its wings proudly in the air. Facing the 8 half-step Emperor Wu, it had no fear at all. It soared into the air and took the initiative to attack. Ao Jiao stayed by Xiao Chen's side, her eyes slightly wet. In her eyes, the blonde had always been like a child. Who would have thought that he would have to bear such great pressure at such a crucial moment? Alone, he was able to stall 8 half-step Emperor Wu. Miserable cries resounded continuously as Little Yellow Feather's golden feathers fell off continuously. Facing the encirclement of 8 half-step martial emperors, Little Yellow Feather was not a match at all. In Ao Jiao's ears, the painful wail sounded like the cries of a baby, which made her heart wrench. But she couldn't leave. At this time, Xiao Chen's breakthrough had reached a critical moment. She had to conserve her last bit of strength and stay by Xiao Chen's side to prevent anyone from interrupting Xiao Chen. Bang! Yellow Feather was flipped over, its feathers continuously falling off. The golden feathers were stained with fresh blood, falling off one by one. It was like fresh blood was burning, falling onto the vast desert, looking incomparably miserable. Damn it, this little bastard's flame is really painful. A human half-step Emperor Wu, whose hair and arms were burnt by the flame, cursed loudly. Obviously, the sacred flame of the sun made him feel extreme pain. Ao Jiao couldn't bear it anymore. She stepped forward and caught Yellow Feather, whose divine light had dimmed and shrunk by many times, into her embrace. Yellow Feather's voice was hoarse. At this moment, it didn't look like a divine beast at all. It was like a featherless sparrow, looking extremely miserable. After spending half a day, the 2 obstacles were finally dealt with. 8 half-step Emperor Wu's arrived in the air, looking coldly at Xiao Chen, who had 6 halos on his back and was manifesting the life and death phenomenon on the stone tablet. Step by step, they closed in. All of them were expressionless, with a cold murderous intent, firmly locking onto Xiao Chen. They didn't want to give Xiao Chen any chance at all, directly killing him at the last moment of his breakthrough. However, at this moment, on both sides of Xiao Chen, the extreme life and death phenomenon suddenly merged, instantly entering into Xiao Chen's body. Red, orange, red, green, cyan, blue, and purple, the most crucial 7th halo appeared behind Xiao Chen in one fell swoop. Xiao Chen opened his eyes, a dazzling golden light gushed out. He, who was sitting cross-legged, suddenly stood up. In an instant, the light shone brightly, outshining the morning glow. In the void, the 8 half-step Emperor Wus were all startled by this gaze. The moment the light shone, they couldn't help but take a few steps back. At this moment, Xiaoqian actually gave them a pressure that only an Emperor Wu could. The golden light in Xiaoqian's eyes slowly faded. With a thought, the 7 halos behind him returned to his body. In that instant, the mental energy in Xiaoqian's sea of consciousness, which had already been molded into a humanoid shape, seemed to come to life. The consummation blue-robed emperor condensed his mental energy and merged it with the heavenly seal, forming the vague form of the heart of an emperor. Xiaoqian finally understood why the consummation blue-robed emperor could only form the vague form of the heart of an emperor and not the true heart of an emperor. This was because the consummation blue-robed emperor had not experienced the great tribulation of wind and fire. The mental energy that he condensed did not have a soul or a spirit. It was an incomplete fusion. However, the life and death art used the flower of life and the death fruit to make a cultivator go through 7 life and death trials, each more dangerous than the last. In the end, the layers of halos that were refined were the soul and the spirit. When the soul and the mental energy gathered at the same time, they would form a primordial spirit, which was the small golden figure that seemed to come to life in Xiaoqian's sea of consciousness. Like water flowing into a canal, the golden primordial spirit slowly sank into the dantian. As it sank, Xiaoqian felt the green spots in his blood, flesh, and cells being absorbed into the golden primordial spirit. These green spots represented all sorts of primal life force. Even if one's arm was severed, as long as these green spots remained, it might not be difficult to regrow a severed limb. Xiaoqian understood why Emperor Wu was so hard to kill. The appearance of the heart of an emperor would transform the physical body once again, absorbing every cell in the body into the heart of an emperor like a backup. Ka-xie. A melodious sound came from Xiaoqian's body. The golden primordial spirit and the dragon-shaped heavenly seal completely merged. In that instant, the various lights that Xiaoqian had withdrawn in his body released uncontrollably. A strong might swept out in all directions. The heart of an emperor had successfully condensed. It was like Xiaoqian had obtained a new life. First, the bottleneck that had plagued Xiaoqian for a long time was instantly broken. He silently entered the consummation blue-robed emperor realm. Xiaoqian's physical body underwent a complete transformation. His physical body, which had already reached the peak of the sage body, improved further. Xiaoqian's originally delicate face changed drastically, giving off an explosive pressure. His aura was terrifyingly strong. However, there was no precedent for such a physical body. Although it was called the Emperor Wu's golden body, it lacked maturity. Furthermore, Xiaoqian had not reconstructed his body. However, it was much stronger than a regular sage body. Furthermore, after condensing the heart of an emperor, the recovery ability of the body surpassed that of a regular Emperor Wu's golden body. It would not be too much to call it a half-step golden body. It was a unique existence that existed in Xiaoqian's body. The heart of an emperor. The 8 half-step Emperor Wus all exclaimed when they saw the white-robed Xiaoqian standing proudly on the stone stele, looking as elegant as Emperor Wu's. It was indeed the heart of an emperor. At their level, they were no longer unfamiliar with Emperor Wu. They had even interacted with primes before. They were no strangers to Emperor Wu's circle. When they saw Xiaoqian's current state, they immediately figured out the crux of the matter. Only after clearing the great tribulation of wind and fire and becoming Emperor Wu could one condense the heart of an emperor. Unexpectedly, it appeared on Xiaoqian. The surrounding mixed blood cultivators were all shocked speechless. 50,000 years ago, the blood sword sovereign condensed the heart of an emperor before advancing to martial emperor. Several people thought that it was just a legend and that it could not possibly appear in the real world. But today, the white-clothed young man standing on top of the towering stone tablet had silently proved that it was not a legend, but a reality. The aura of a single person was enough to suppress all the people present. Before Xiaoqian could carefully experience the many mysteries of the heart of an emperor, he looked around and fixed his gaze on the 8 half-step Emperor Wus in front. Then, he looked at the unconscious Ao Jiao, who was covered in wounds and hugging little Yellow Feather, who was still unconscious. These people were all injured because of him. Right now, Dugu Ao's survival was even more uncertain. The scene of Dugu Ao blocking the 12 half-step Emperor Wu's for Shao Chen was still vivid in his mind. He would never forget it. For the sake of protecting Shao Chen, Little Yellow Feather and Ao Jiao had fought until their bodies were covered in wounds. Shao Chen only wanted to walk his own Dao. However, these people persistently pressured him, repeatedly trying to kill him, touching on his bottom line. Shao Chen, it was indeed not easy for you to reach this step. You should leave. We will not make things difficult for you, the deity race half-step Emperor Wu's voice pleaded for peace under Shao Chen's strong pressure. The other party had already refined the flower of life. There was no longer any meaning in fighting with them. The most important thing was that Shao Chen had condensed the heart of an emperor and advanced to consummation blue-robed emperor. His strength had increased greatly, shaking these people's confidence in victory. That's right. You should leave. We will not make things difficult for you. The 8 half-step Emperor Wus were all experienced people. They quickly understood the principle and all spoke up to let Shao Chen leave, indicating that they would not make things difficult for him. The original goal was to prevent Shao Chen from obtaining the flower of life, to prevent him from advancing to consummation blue-robed emperor. It was not to kill Shao Chen. However, not only did Shao Chen successfully refine the flower of life and advance to consummation blue-robed emperor, but he also surpassed their expectations and condensed the heart of an emperor. Since they had already messed up their mission, there was no point in continuing. They might as well let Shao Chen leave. When Shao Chen heard these people talking at the same time, he could not help but laugh out loud. What was shameless? This group of people was the perfect definition of this word. What are you laughing at? Seeing that Shao Chen did not reply and started laughing instead, the 8 half-step Emperor Wus shouted angrily. Shao Chen stopped laughing and retorted coldly, "Why can't I laugh? There are funnier things in the world than this. You beat up my friend until he died, humiliated me time and time again, and prevented me from obtaining the flower of life for no reason at all. You forced me to make 7 life and death passes in 10 days. After I succeeded, you arrogantly said to let me go and not make things difficult for me. Are there people as shameless as you?" Chapter 12:22. When the 8 half-step Emperor Wu heard this, they all became enraged. What do you want? Don't force us into a corner. Don't be so shameless when we give you face. Don't think that after advancing to consummation blue-robed emperor, you are unrivaled. The 8 of us working together is more than enough to kill you. Quickly scram. Don't blame us for changing our minds. Shao Chen stretched out his hand, and the lunar shadow saber in Ao Jiao's hand flew into his. At the same time, Ao Jiao also turned into a beam of light and entered the lunar shadow saber. This increased the might of the lunar shadow saber significantly. The saber gave off a purple glow. When the light shone into the sky, it immediately triggered a chain of lightning. Shao Chen stood on the stone steel and pointed with his saber. He shouted coldly, "Kneel now and apologize to my friends. Then, I will leave your corpses intact. Otherwise, don't blame me for being too ruthless." The moment he said that, everyone was shocked. This Shao Chen was too tyrannical. To think that he wanted the 8 half-step Emperor Wu to kneel and apologize to Dugu Ao. Furthermore, after they apologized, he would leave their corpses intact and not let them off. Where did he get his confidence from? How could he be so arrogant? What a joke. You want us to kneel? Who do you think you are? Call the Prime Thunder King over. You are so young, and yet you are already so arrogant. Today, we will teach you a lesson. The 8 half-step Emperor Wu were all enraged. They could not be bothered to make any more concessions. After exchanging voice projections, they decided to attack together and teach Shao Chen a lesson. The 8 half-step Emperor Wu could tell that Shao Chen was now extraordinary. After they decided to attack, they did not hold back at all. They planned to work together and attack, not giving Shao Chen any chance to drag things out. They would severely injure him and then humiliate him. Shao Chen smiled coldly to himself. His martial techniques, cultivation techniques, will, and physical body were all stronger than the 8. Why was he suppressed earlier? It was because the difference in cultivation was too great. He could not use brute force to break through. Even if he used his full power, he could not gain any advantage. But now, his strength had undergone a qualitative transformation. His cultivation base had advanced by leaps and bounds, and he had successfully broken through from the great circle of the blue-robed emperor. He had even condensed the heart of an emperor. Adding on his previous advantages, defeating these 8 half-step Emperor Wu was no longer difficult. However, this group of people did not know that and wanted to kill him in one strike. This was exactly what he wanted. If he killed them one by one, it was inevitable that someone would escape. These people deserved to die. If even one of them escaped, he would blame himself for the rest of his life. As long as this hatred was not appeased, the killing would not stop. Boundless mixed element palm. Wrath of God. Heaven's soul slash. The 8 half-step Emperor Wu attacked at the same time, each of them executing a medial-grade profound martial technique. However, it looked like they were barely able to execute these medial-grade profound martial techniques. However, Xiaoqin had barely reached the basic level, able to release it completely. He was still far from being able to control it as he pleased, reaching small accomplishment. However, this was very normal. Firstly, medial-grade profound martial techniques were rare. Secondly, they had high requirements on comprehension ability and vision. Without reaching the level of Emperor Wu, it would be very difficult to reach small accomplishment. It was already very rare for these half-step Emperor Wu to be able to completely execute a medial-grade profound martial technique. This is a medial-grade profound martial technique. How strong! No wonder these half-step Emperor Wu could still be confident of killing them in one strike, even after that woman and the Golden Crow exhausted most of their law energy. So, that is the case. Although they barely reached the basic level, a medial-grade profound martial technique is still a medial-grade profound martial technique. With 8 medial-grade profound martial techniques working together, it would be hard for them not to be strong. Seeing these half-step Emperor Wu execute extremely precious and rare medial-grade profound martial techniques, the group of demon mixed bloods all started to worry for Xiaoqin. With regards to Xiaoqin and these foreign Emperor Wu, all the demon mixed bloods present were definitely on Xiaoqin's side. Seeing that Xiaoqin had already created a miracle by condensing the heart of an emperor, yet he immediately ran into such danger, they all felt worried for him. On the stone steel, Xiaoqin's white robes fluttered. Behind him, winds blew, clouds churned, and lightning crackled. Before he even made a move, just his aura alone made the sky change color. The morning sun was drowned out, not a single ray of light visible. Xiaoqin coldly watched the 8 half-step Emperor Wu execute medial-grade profound martial techniques together. His lips curled up in a mocking smile. If these 8 people executed inferior-grade profound martial techniques and brought out the might of great perfection, the pressure on Xiaoqin would be even greater. It would be much more troublesome to deal with. The medial-grade profound martial technique before Xiaoqin was only at the basic level. He could barely execute it, and it was full of openings. When facing a regular expert, he would definitely be able to obtain victory through sheer numbers, relying on the superior grade of his martial technique to suppress his opponent. However, when facing Xiaoqin, a bladesman who could use medial-grade profound martial techniques as he pleased and who had reached small perfection, it was like showing off before an expert, asking for trouble. Amid the strong wind and lightning, Xiaoqin held up the lunar shadow saber and leaped down from the towering stone steel in the sky. Then, he chopped down with all his might. 1,000 years of hegemony, immortal dynasty. As Xiaoqin descended with the tyranny of a peak kingship, he chopped out an immortal dynasty with his saber. As Xiaoqin quickly descended amid the lightning, many majestic cities appeared behind him. At first, there was only one city. Soon, it turned into many majestic and boundless cities. Finally, the imperial city appeared. Figures leaped out of every city and landed on the roofs. Then, they knelt before Xiaoqin and shouted, "Long live!" What did "long live" mean? Immortal for 10,000 years. Every year is king, that means, long live. After Shao Qian condensed the heart of an emperor, the tyranny of a kingship on his body became even stronger, containing the might of an emperor. This increased the might of this medial-grade profound martial technique that was already at small perfection. Furthermore, as Shao Qian swooped down from above, he held the advantage of the terrain. With all these advantages, the entry-level medial-grade profound martial techniques of the 8 half-step emperor Wu only lasted for a moment before crumbling under this thousand-year hegemony establishment. Shao Qian's tyranny of a kingship was simply unrivaled. As he leaped down, he sent out the mysterious phenomenon of a vast dynasty. Amidst the strong winds, dark clouds, and lightning, this scene caused all the demon hybrids present to be dumbfounded. They were all astonished by what they saw. Go! The 8 half-step emperor Wu vomited a mouthful of blood. Horror appeared in their eyes. They had not expected Shao Qian's comprehension ability to be so high. Unexpectedly, he managed to comprehend a medial-grade profound martial technique to small perfection. Furthermore, he possessed such a strong tyranny of kingship. This was simply incredible. If Shao Qian had known earlier, he would not have been defeated in such a sorry state if he had used an inferior-grade profound martial technique to consummation. However, there was no medicine for regret in this world. The 8 half-step Emperor Wu, who had already exhausted a lot of their law energy at the hands of Ao Jiao and Little Yellow Feather, were severely injured. They no longer had any combat prowess. They all executed their various means, trying to flee far away. It's too late to leave now. As long as this hatred remained, the killing would not stop. Shao Qian's murderous intent had already been extinguished. Even if he caused a great disaster, these 8 people had to die. After Shao Qian landed, he pushed off the ground and soared into the air. He brandished his saber, and every time he spun around, a mysterious phenomenon would come out of his body. There was a bright moon like fire, an undefeated blazing sun, peach blossoms, or a roaring dragon image. Only one saber technique, instant of glory. After spinning around 9 times, Shao Qian immediately executed the medial-grade profound martial technique, instant of glory. Space froze, and a glorious painting appeared in front. The 8 fleeing half-step Emperor Wu were all included in the painting. In this epic painting, the expressions of the 8 half-step Emperor Wu froze, not moving at all. Shao Qian sheathed his saber. Then, he faced his right hand forward and gently opened it. The frozen painting shattered like a mirror. Space immediately shattered. The 8 half-step Emperor Wu, who were already severely injured in the first place, were knocked into the air. Cracks appeared on their bodies, looking incredibly horrifying. Shao Qian's expression was terrifyingly sinister. The 8 blue-robed emperors in the air still had their last breaths. Their physical bodies were still tenaciously recovering. If they were left alone, given one day, they would recover from their injuries. After resting for half a year, they would be able to return to their peak. Shao Qian, don't think that you can kill us just because you are a descendant of the Qing Emperor. We have primes standing behind us. If you kill us, you will cause a great disaster. Death shrouded their hearts. The 8 half-step Emperor Wu in the air were in despair as they spoke futilely. How laughable. If those primes were really courageous, why didn't they personally make a move? In the end, you are just a bunch of cannon fodder. Shao Qian roared somewhat angrily. Killing intent filled his mind, making him look exceptionally terrifying. Now that you know fear, why did you do it earlier? When the 2 ghost race Emperor Wu sneak attacked Shao Qian, they did not think that such a day would come. I will give this punch to you first. Shao Qian shouted, and a lightning dragon shot out from under his feet. His figure flickered as he punched twice. Each punch contained 20 dragon force, 100 million kilograms of force. When they struck the bodies of the ghost race experts, cracks appeared on them. Amid the hazy bloody mist, the 2 half-step Emperor Wu immediately died without a complete corpse, their bodies exploding. Whoosh! Shao Qian arrived before the 2 deity race half-step Emperor Wu and said expressionlessly, with this punch, I will send you on your way on behalf of Dugu Ao. When you kept calling him bastard, you did not understand that there are some people who are much nobler than you. Don't kill me. Emperor Forsaken will not forgive you. In the face of death, the two originally arrogant deity race experts were overwhelmed by fear. They begged for mercy in soft voices. Xiao Chen's expression remained cold, completely ignoring them. He threw another 2 punches and killed the 2 half-step Emperor Wu. His methods were tyrannical and decisive. Xiao Chen was decisive in killing, not showing any mercy. The remaining 4 half-step Emperor Wu were already frightened out of their wits. They dragged their heavily injured bodies and ran frantically in the desert, leaving behind a trail of blood. However, no matter how they ran, how could they be faster than Xiao Chen, who executed Thunder Dragon steps? Everything was futile. I will return this punch to you on behalf of Ao Jiao. Bang! Dragon roars rang out endlessly as the fist shook the surroundings. Every punch ended the life of a half-step Emperor Wu. Like a grim reaper harvesting lives, Xiao Chen used the cruelest method. As he said, if they did not kneel down and apologize, they would die without a complete corpse.